Well, hello, friends. All right, let's do it. Today's guest is one of my new friends on the podcast today. Tim Hendricks is on the show. Tim Hendricks is an ex-Tesla employee, a Harvard graduate in finance. He's also a general partner at an investment firm, an amazing one, and just an amazing person. Yes, he's on the podcast today. We're going to talk about, what it's like working with Elon Musk, what it's like working at Tesla, some of the wild shenanigans going on. And, he was a part of the pivotal points of, launching the Model Y and the Model X. And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about aliens. We're going to talk about aliens, the metaverse, crypto, U.S. finances. Yes, we're going to talk about a lot of really deep stuff. It's a 3-hour conversation. It's great. It's going to be really deep. Enjoy it. Yes. And we just launched a Patreon. So those who want to support the podcast, please click the link in the description and to support us. Yes. It takes a lot of work and energy to do this, but I do it for you. So without any further ado, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kids in the Room podcast. Kids in the Room podcast.
That's right.
Brought to you by Move Faces TV. Woo! All right. Hey everyone, welcome to the Kids in the Room podcast. Today we got my buddy Tim Hendricks on the podcast. Did I say that? Did I butcher your name, or did I say it correct?
Nailed it.
Awesome. Like Jimi Hendrix, like rock and roll god. Yeah.
It's just like Jimi Hendrix.
That's awesome.
That's like the number one joke that I always try to avoid when you're doing intros. In fact, I'm surprised it took you this long to get to saying that. That's usually the first. That's the first telltale sign of geez, now I have to talk about music.
Right.
Now I have to talk about guitars. It's quick, pull up fun facts about Jimi Hendrix. Every time.
Purple Haze. Yeah. So, yeah, man, tell everyone, who you are, what's special about you. Let's do it.
Not a lot of special, but I will say I probably have forgotten way more than most people figure out or learn in a lifetime. And that's because a lot of adventure, a lot of fun, a lot of exciting things happen. Grew up in Middle Tennessee. From there, that's where the music comes from. Originally, whenever I was younger, I thought that probably was going to be my claim to fame. That's how I was going to make it. I was going to grow up. I was going to be a rock star. I was going to take all of this teenage angst, and it was going to make me millions. Little did I know in music industry that probably never happens. Played sports, which what a lifestyle to try to balance. You usually have dyed hair, long bangs, black fingernails, some black metal T-shirt, and also batting cleanup. Right. So what a weird lifestyle to juggle. But from that, mostly learned how to be a performer, learned how to deal in clutch situations, high pressure situations, decided, OK, let's make a move. We'll go to business. We'll try to figure that out. Spent a lot of my time in supply chain, a lot of my time in learning finance, which is a deep passion of mine. And from there, I've moved into venture capital spaces, public speaking, working with early stage startups. And probably my most favorite thing, talking about where this big crazy thing we know as the U.S. economy is probably going to go.
Ooh, that's deep. We're going to talk about finance. We're going to talk about finance today, too. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, let's kick it off with this. Let's bring it back. You also worked at, Tesla as well earlier on. Well, not too far from now. And, what was that experience like working at Tesla?
So before Tesla, I was working with Nissan. Nissan put out, after the Prius, the Nissan Leaf. So whenever I was working there, I was seeing the early stages of EV kind of come to the forefront. And I will say that experience was, it's unique. You don't get to be an early adapter or a first in on something very often. But I jumped in and tried to learn as much as I could about vehicle supply chain, automotive manufacturing. I worked on a couple of different new projects, a couple of startup projects that they had, a couple of launches. From there, I started getting, I guess you'll get those pings on LinkedIn and the direct message that's like, Tim, love what you've been doing. If you're interested and want to, go to a coat closet and call us, we can talk about maybe moving to California. So I turned them down a few times. Eventually, I did say yes, mainly because they said, hey, if you want to fly out and see it, we can do it. And I'm thinking that's an awesome vacation. I love Carmel. It's close enough. I'll make it work. We flew out. We checked it out. Ended up being perfect. Originally, I did not intend to do this, but I did it. And here we are 5-6 years later. And holy cow, like just this one pivot to move out this far west has created a huge chain of events in my life.
Wow. Yeah. And you also were part of the early launch of the Model Y, the Model 3. Like, can you tell everyone, what was your responsibility? What was that like? Yeah.
I'll tell you my favorite story. And I tell this story every now and then. So whenever I first started, my first month there, working in inventory, asset control, you work with the production teams a lot. And so whenever I got there, we were doing some walkarounds. You would hear whispers of, number one, like Model 3 is not moving as fast as we want it to. That this new highly automated production flow is not nearly what we thought it would do. Or you would hear whispers of like, Elon's on the floor. It's like, where? Because you want to see him. He's like kind of like a unicorn. He's a mystical beast all of his own. But my first month, I remember getting the direction of, yeah, we're going to tear the whole thing out. It's like, what do you mean we're going to tear the whole thing? What does that mean? Exactly what it sounds like. So like they were tearing conveyors, elevators, anything that was super automation that probably didn't need to be automated. They would tear it out and move it to like a kind of like a dead area of the plant, or move it out of the plant. And then I remember whenever they actually decided to put a tent up in the parking lot and start building Model 3s there, that was a wild moment, because I came from a highly structured automotive manufacturing plant where things have been the same for 15, 20 years. To have someone say, okay, we'll just do it in the parking lot, blew my mind. That was my first kind of real taste of that startup, that scrappy mentality of, if we want to make it happen, figure out how to make it happen. And then if it doesn't work, try something else and keep trying until it works. That was wild. So I got to watch the Model Y from the first quarterly update where they say, here's what we're doing, to it actually rolling off the line, and then rolling off the line in bulk. Absolutely mind-blowing experience.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So let me ask you another question. What was it like the first time when you actually did you actually, interact or meet with Elon, or did you get to talk to Elon? Did you get to, what was your experience?
Where we worked in the plant was very central to everything. Well, also very central to everything in the plant was the main conference room that Elon liked to do either daily startup meetings, or a few times I think he did a few quarterly calls from in there. But anytime we would show up, if there was like trash bags over the windows, it's like, oh no, I'm pretty sure Elon's sleeping in there. It's like, no, team, everyone, let's just go ahead and move away. Let's go to the other side of the plant. We'll work from there. You gave the guy him space, gave him all the space he needed to do whatever it was he needed to do. But I can definitely say he's an extremely inquisitive person. If he doesn't understand it, or if he's not an expert in it, at any given time, he's probably only 5 questions away from knowing more than you do about it, which is terrifying, right? Because like if I were to ask you 5 questions and I'm like, that's not how that works, this is how that works, it would blow my mind. But I have seen him ask questions. I've seen him do floor walks. I've seen him break down processes. And I will say that I can be marked safe. I've never been broken down like that by him. But truly, it is amazing to watch someone's brain work from like a 5 why. Why does it do this? Well, then why does it do that? Well, why does it do this? That's something that like you read about in a book, you learn how to do it, but seeing someone actually do it on the fly and do it so successfully, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's interesting. As children, you're always told, hey, you shouldn't ask too many questions. You can't, you shouldn't be asking so many whys.
Yeah.
Quit asking me why. And it's like, I was that fucking kid. I was a kid who was asking why. I was an annoying little kid who was just a mute and always asked why. And my mom was like, what the fuck? Like, I've got to work, I've got to do things. Like, quit asking fucking why. Like, what do you mean? Because I said so. Like, do it. And it's like, I think I was definitely that kid. I think I've always been that type of person. I think I've just learned to push, to hide it. Right? Because some people, and especially when you work in authoritarian type of positions and roles, everybody wants to tell you, this is because this person said so. So you kind of have to do it. You're not the person to be asking a lot of questions in life, which is typically what it is. But if you have an open culture, you should always let people ask why. They should be why. Everyone should be fucking asking why. If they're not asking why, they're not interested in working at your company or whatever you're doing. That's why. If they're not really asking fucking why. They have something else they're doing. They're fucking playing with their phones. There's something else they're doing interesting. But
looking for podcasts. That's what they're doing. Looking for this podcast to be specific. Tune in every Friday night. That's a shameless plug. That's what that was. But no, that is, I'm glad you're peeling back this particular onion because it's so true. You hear about cultures that we as a culture here at Tim LLC would like to invite you to come and learn, peel back, ask why, get to the root cause of things. How many companies do you think actually do that? Back it up, I should say. If you're not asking why, if you're not digging in, if you cannot comfortably, I'll say, challenge each other even, what kind of culture is that? It's not a culture of innovation. It's not a culture of change. It's a culture of tell me what I need to do next and I will execute it to the best of my power. But then you're leaning on me to tell you what's best. What are the odds I know? What are the odds that I'm the absolute authority on a matter? Slim to none that any of us are an absolute authority on any matter. I can probably say that I'm probably not even like an authority of my own life. I probably couldn't tell my own story better than like maybe my wife. My wife could probably tell my story better than I could. Some ghostwriter somewhere could probably tell my story better than I could. But why should we ever stop someone from asking why over and over and over again? Sure, it's annoying, but it's annoying because you have poked a nice hole in the very, very thin veil that I had of my existence. And how dare you, as a child, how dare you shake me, a grown man? That's what that is. So your mom's mad because you poked all these holes and like just things that she was like, I don't know. They told me that's why. Stop asking.
I mean, I think that's exactly why, that happened. But also at the same time, people have they're busy with their days, they get busy with their days and you're in these times where both parents work. And so it's like, there's not that much patience, that goes on. So with that being said, sometimes you get, these parents are just like, hey, I have too much shit to do, buddy. Like you got to figure this shit out yourself. Like quit asking me why I don't have time for this. So it begins to be where you're almost this antagonist child because you ask too many whys. And, I think when you grow up, you kind of learn that, hey, you shouldn't ask so many whys. So you hide them. So I even know like sometimes when I was like in meetings, I would just not ask certain whys because even though I would ask them behind, I always like to reframe and reflect. And I'm not a big person when it comes to meetings where I like to ask those questions right then. I like to gravitate and grab everything, get all my information, my data first before I come back with like a big rebuttal. Yeah. Right? Where everybody's like expecting you during like these interviews, oh, you should have an answer, say something. I'm like, no, okay, he said this, she said this, everyone said this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me go back and research this, then come back with some type of like questions and theories and things like that. That's just how I am. I feel like there's some people in this world who are like, they're sprinters when it comes to learning and rebuttaling. And there are some people who are marathon runners who are deeper thinkers and they like to go back and reflect a little bit deeper than others. Sometimes I think it's different, like different types of brain waves and processing. Sure. Yeah.
Sure. You know what? I actually had a conversation this afternoon and the comment that I made was, well, let's get that person involved because I feel like all these questions, all of these ideas we're kicking around, if this person were to just hear it, the way they think, the way they connect dots, the way that they can just build something in their brain, I want to have that person in this conversation because they're going to hear what we're talking about and they're going to say, everybody stop. This is your answer. Like they're going to make just clarity out of it. But I'm going to back up on you for 1 second because you made a really good point. You ask why a lot. And you say like, both your parents are busy. Both my parents were busy, extremely busy at times. Maybe they were there to hear why. Maybe they were not there to hear why at the time. But patience. I'm not a parent, so I definitely cannot give any tips on parenting. But patience. I grew up spending probably 75% of my time with my grandparents. They lived locally. In fact, they were like across the driveway. They were very close. And you want to talk about patience. A 65-year-old man who's done with everything and all he has to do is cut the grass sometimes. That's patience, man. So I got to hang out with this old soul, and old soul had more than enough time to field questions. Also, that is where my love for NPR picked up. Used to listen to NPR all the time, which when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, not that cool. Paul Harvey, not really rocking it. But as I grow older, I realize, oh, that's why you listen to this. You were a lifelong learner. You went to school, you went to college, you got a master's, you started the PhD, you wanted to do all these great things, but you never stopped that process. So, you were segueing into that, learning in different ways, and everyone thinks on a different pattern. There's different brain waves, different frequencies we're all operating on. There's sprinters and there's marathon runners. I like to think of myself as a marathon runner who every now and then I can sprint. If I have to figure something out that I don't understand, I can do that. But usually I will pull up topics that I love and I will stick on those for a year and I will go deep into those topics. And whenever it's done, it's like, okay, I feel like I know everything there is to know about sports cards. All right, I'm out. And I'll never pick it up again. It scratches that itch. Maybe that's obsession. It might not be learning. It might just be obsession.
I mean, I would say for myself, the reason why I would consider myself more of a marathon thinker in general, especially if it's a subject I'm not familiar with, is because I like to ask a lot of whys.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you like to ask a lot of whys, you like to ask a why behind the whys. So there's a 5 whys. I'm probably asking about 20 of those fucking things. I'm probably asking fucking 20 whys. So I'm like, well, why? Like when I remember, like when I would get like, my math homework and stuff from school and stuff like that, and I would like, all right, this is algebra, but I'm like, I would ask my mom, but why? Why? Who said that this is what we should do? Why am I doing this? Like, what's the point of this? Like, why
did we
is this
incorporate
created?
letters? Why were letters needed here?
Exactly. Like, why do we need to do this shit? Like, who invented the letter? And like, who says this is fucking L? Like, it might have gotten ridiculous, but I always wanted to understand the history behind why this was created and who were these people who did this. And I grew up in, earlier on in Stamford, Connecticut, where it was like, my best friend was, James Barnum as a kid, and his grandfather was, or great grandfather was, P.T. Barnum, who invented the circus.
Cool. Yeah.
So like I remember in Bridgeport and stuff like that in Connecticut, we used to go around to all these statues of his grandfather, and I'm just like, dude, every fucking where I go, there's like a statue of your great grandfather or whatever, and like they own castles and shit and streets, and I was like, what the fuck? This guy's been dead over 100 years ago, and he has fucking castles. Like, who has castles and who has statues of themselves looking over the fucking water, and you're not even here anymore? This is awesome. Like, this guy is fucking amazing. And like, it was just really cool. Even my school that I went to at the time was like P.T. Barnum Elementary. So it was like, it was wild. So I was like, fuck, this is crazy, man. Imagine dying and there's just legacy everywhere around you of this person, and you carry that last name or that surname, right? So it's just wild. But I don't know. I think there's like, there's some things where I'm more of a sprinter of when there's things that I'm very knowledgeable in.
Sure.
But when there's things that I'm not knowledgeable in, I'm quick to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, likewise. Like, has it ever been a problem just keeping your questions and your opinion to yourself for just a few moments, listening just a little bit longer? No, I'm the same way. If I am confident, if I understand and I know exactly what it is we're talking about, and I want to dive deep, sure, I am happy to be the ruler of that conversation. I'm happy to drive it whatever direction I feel like it may need to go. But more often than not, there are times where I'm definitely not the expert. I mean, you think about venture capitalist. How often does a recent MBA grad who's now in VC is an analyst comes in, listens to a pitch about like AI or blockchain or something. They listen to it and they're the expert. There's that. I will say that probably does not happen very often. I think what probably makes a much better analyst or VC in that position is someone that is listening and can hear, okay, there's a lot of people value that you can create out of this. What you're talking about could change lives. If what you're talking about can be, vetted and with a little bit of due diligence, we can prove, that's possible. Or if you're some incredible wizard who has created this technology, I'm sure that's happened before, I look at your wall, you have patents all over your wall, and I recognize them because they are Nikola, they're Tesla patents. In fact, I think they're all Tesla.
They are.
And so as I look around, that's funny, right? Again, things you obsess over. The things I obsess over are History Channel. That's what I obsess over. Let's not even move this to Ancient Aliens. I can't do that right now. But
we'll do it in a little bit for sure.
Oh, good. That's an itch we got to scratch now. But you look at these patents, no one who looked at that patent and signed off on it had a clue what they were looking at. I would say that's guaranteed. Mm-hmm. You go to a patent office and he's like, check this out. And they're like, okay. Art. Cool. Thank you. Signed off. Looks good. Maybe try a little more abstract. But, how often does that happen where we're just not the expert? Where we probably should just stop talking. Stop talking, listen, build up your questions. Better yet, take it away. Go study it. Go read something about it and come back with a little bit more informed question. Man, imagine if we did that in everything. Not just business. Ooh, we're not going to peel that onion back yet, man, but that's... Imagine if we did that with everything.
I mean, for me, I like to, break things down. I like to, understand what I'm building and what am I dealing with. What are all the key components to get to this point or whatever I'm trying to extrapolate or build out in this world. I'm trying to always figure out like, what does it take to do this before I start just speaking about something? So like, for example, if there's like, if I had when I was a teenager, I had a car issue and like I would go to the car places and they would tell me these, hey, your car's like this and it would cost this much money to do this. And I was like, yeah. And they would plug in the machine. They didn't know which one it was. I was like, man, that's kind of like, I don't know, $5,000. Are you kidding me? Or maybe change out the engine or you don't know which one it is. Then if you've diagnostic down to 3 issues it possibly can be and you don't fucking know, then why am I going to you?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, fuck that. Here's what I'm going to do. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab the fucking book from the AutoZone and I'm going to go get these fucking guys to plug it in, tell me what solutions or what issues they think it might be out of the 3 options. And then I'm going to choose which one I feel intuitively with my spidey senses is the issue. And I'm going to fucking go out in my fucking yard and I'm going to take that shit apart and I'm going to buy all the tools and I'm going to read that fucking book and I'm going to figure it out myself and I'm going to do it and I'm going to crank that motherfucker up and it's going to work. And I'm going to do it for $200, not $5. And I'm going to fucking crank it up and I'm going to drive back and say, hey, I got it fixed. And that's what I'm going to fucking do. And that's what I fucking did. I did that. And they would be like, what the fuck? And then I said, you know what I'm going to do? I didn't know about like, oil changes and things like that. So I was like, fuck, I want to learn about that. So I literally took a fucking part-time job at an oil change place called Jiffy Lube. And I literally took a fucking job there. I fucked up some cars. I wrecked some shit, because I didn't really know how to drive that well. I didn't get my driver lesson until later. But it was a big ass truck and just, oops, so shit. And I jumped out. But anyways, I just, I learned about, oil changes, sludge and all these different things like that. And I also was studying people at the same time.
Sure.
Big studying on culture, people, how people react to things and the insides of how mechanics and people who in service industries like that kind of work into. And I just remember hearing all kinds of shit, man. Like, hey man, that car, we stripped the plug for the oil pan. What do we want to do? What are we going to do? Oh, let me talk to the manager. Oh shit, the pan's fit. Oh man, just tell them it's broken. So they would fucking do shit like that.
Pulled it off broken.
Yeah, they would fuck shit up. And I was like, man, that's fucked up. So I saw all these things happen. So I realized, and I had this one friend, oh, not a friend. I knew this one kid in my auto body class because I took an auto body class for like 6 months in high school. And he was like, you know, he's like, I don't need school. I don't need college. He said, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of high school and I'm just going to open up my own mechanic shop and I'm just going to cheat people in suits and women.
Did he do that?
I mean, I don't fucking know.
Did you fall? Have you double checked on this?
I never checked on him again. I was like, this guy, the kid name was, I don't want to say his name, but yeah.
Yeah, I know him.
His name was Richard. I mean, he might be a dick, but but yeah, he ended up, I don't know whatever happened to that kid. I've never seen the guy ever since then. But after that point, I remember just hearing him say that shit to one of my other friends. We had a mutual friend and he was in the shop class and he said that shit. I was like, what the fuck?
That's some real like Wolf of Wall Street stuff.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I was like, man, when I got that oil change job, I did it on purpose so I could just learn how they were doing things inside there and also to get this fucking jacket that I thought was really cool during my punk rocker days.
Sure enough, man.
You know, I liked the little, I worked in a shop jacket. I thought it was kind of cool.
I have a couple of patches on my arm.
Kind of grungy, kind of alty. Yeah, I thought it was cool. So I thought it was, it was groovy. I was, people, hey, I like that jacket. I was like, yeah, thank you. I got it from Jiffy Lube.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, like as you're working there, like you see behind the curtain. So you pull back the curtain and you get a chance to see. You strip the plug whenever you pull it out, and it's like, okay, how do you tell a customer that I messed, or even worse, you ran some dude's truck probably into like the side of like the garage door, and it's like, how do you tell a customer? Yeah. T ran our truck into the wall there, buddy. Like, how do you have that conversation with someone? How do you go back to them and say, I messed up?
So here's the thing. In regards to the truck scraping the fucking wall, there's no how do you go back because they fucking heard it. So it was just so
that's
there
like
was no hiding.
Fly. Like, what do you say? It's like, hey, well, you saw, yeah,
exactly. They
all
were
you can do is lean in.
They were like, hold up, left, turn. Hey, turn that shit. Oh, fuck.
Falls in the pit, you know.
I didn't get in the pit, but, it scraped the walls, and they just, oh, shit, you scratched it. I was like, oh, fuck. I'm nervous. I'm thinking some guy's going to come over there and beat my ass because I'm like a kid. They're fucking his truck up, I'm like nervous, So I'm like, fuck. I'm getting another car. I'm trembling and shit. I'm little and skinny, and I'm running into the fucking door. I'm like, bro. I told the manager, like, hey, I just... I fucking, yeah. He's like, yeah, I heard. He said, we gotta.
He wouldn't even let you say it out loud. He's like, I heard. Just don't talk.
He's like, yeah, we gotta do an insurance thing. Blah blah. We'll get him. Blah blah. And so they took care of it. But there was other situations where I've seen it different places, mechanic places in the past where they just like would, fuck up things. They would fuck up things and they would blame it on the customer. That's just what they would do. Yeah, or they would just overcharge them.
The last place that serviced it.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So I learned, like, don't go there with, like, out your receipts, and also go there within a way where you look like you might have worked in a shop. Start talking to, like, the shop guys.
Wear your jacket?
Yeah, I would wear my jacket, and they would be like, hey, where do you work? I'd be like, yeah, I work at a shop over there. Okay, cool.
I used to. So now I own it.
Yeah.
But I don't let them service my car here. Doesn't make sense.
Nah, they still think you're a dick if you do that. But I just want to make sure they understood that I was one of them and they didn't feel threatened because they would always, oh, well, it's actually here, man. You're good. So
that's why I always wreck my car when I go in. I'll scrape it for them. It's like, I'm going to meet you guys halfway. I want you to be comfortable with me. I want to make this an environment where we can have a conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and just open my car door and hit this piece of metal or concrete block.
Yeah, honestly, I just saw so many women and, even girls I was dating, friends and things like that. I'd see them and they would be getting cheated all the time. So I'd have to go there with them sometimes because I knew that they were going to cheat them. They would come back, hey, this guy said this and they told me it was going to be this. I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, it's not true. And I'll go there with them. I'm like, dude, what's this? What's this? And they would backtrack and be like, oh yeah, man. Who are you? Oh. And I'll wear the fucking jacket just when I showed up. I was like, nah, man. So like, if you hear this thumping noise, that sounds like it's the rod, bro. You know what I mean? I think that's a rod, bro. Maybe it just needs oh man, I think that's a serpentine belt. Do you hear that? Oh yeah.
Now that you say it, I hear it too. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Oh. Then they would fucking back off, and then they would come back with a lower price, and they were like, oh yeah, man. So Yeah. Or if they felt like they weren't going to make much money out of it because I just diagnosed it myself and caught them in their shit, they would just be like, oh man, maybe you need to take it to another shop.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really?
That's one of those, you need to take it to the dealership things. Yeah. Yeah. How twisted. And I doubt it's just cars. Like, it's got to be a lot of stuff.
I trust the dealerships more than I trust the side places most of the time because they're more hungry for money. Not all of them, but I'm more of a dealership kind of guy because I've learned if you buy it from this fucking place that you purchased it from, they're more apt to understand the car and they're more apt to take care of it. And they want you to buy another fucking car.
Subject matter experts. Can't beat that. Cannot beat that.
I mean, it's a jack of all trades, right? The people who work on everything might not be as good as that one thing. And if you think about the extra grab or sell is we want you to buy another car. So we don't want your car to fuck up.
Yeah.
Right?
Ideally, we want this to run as good as it can for within reason as long as it can.
Yeah, 5 years. But these other shops, sometimes they don't give a shit. They're like, hey, man, we just need to, we're not going to get a car to you. We're just going to get a fucking tune-up. Fuck that. The engine's broken. It's blown.
I have a feeling this is also how like infrastructure works in major cities. It's like, we're going to build this road, build it well enough, it probably lasts 3 years. Like if I'm a contractor and it's like, yeah, I'll build it. I'll make it work for this long.
Yeah. But anyways, another thing you mentioned earlier that you work with Elon and sometimes, or when you were working there, sometimes there were these rumors that Elon, if you saw bags over the window, that Elon might be in there sleeping. He had all this fucking money, but he couldn't fucking, get some fucking like automatic window temperature adjustment things. I mean, he's like fucking, Iron Man and shit,
So there should actually be a series of like places Elon has slept that's not his home. Because like I know of, he slept on the roof of a factory. He has slept on the floor of a factory. He's slept in conference rooms. He's probably slept in a car, if I had to guess. He slept in an office at PayPal, where he sleeps in. Have you seen the small house? It's like the
little teeny houses that they have on YouTube. Every time they clickbait you to tell you that Elon's starting these new houses.
Like yeah, that's the ones. Yeah. And if you sign up, you'll also get, $5 worth of this crypto. But I think he may actually have slept in more places not his house than his house. What a weird mindset, though. Like that, I guess, is he still the richest man in the world? Probably close. I mean, it's been a really rough market, but probably close. I wonder where Jeff Bezos has slept versus where Elon slept. Is there a difference there? I don't know, but it's odd to think that guy has, he has slept in a lot of odd places. And just for the sake of, okay, I'm tired, this is where I'm going to sleep, and just kind of crashes. It's kind of like a robot, which is not out of the question. He could be. He could be
a fucking cyborg.
I'm not going to say that I've seen like one eye turn red, but I've seen one eye turn red.
It's probably the aliens that have implanted Elon here and brought him here. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you never know. You never know. You never fucking know. We never checked his blood, we don't know. I think it's interesting. It's really interesting. What got you to be an investor?
Oh man. So originally, whenever I was going back to do a master's, I thought, okay, I'm going to go in, I'll do an MBA. That fits well with what I'm doing in life. That'd be perfect. I go in, I start doing maybe my first semester of courses and realize really quickly after taking a few accounting classes, a finance class, I really enjoy finance. I didn't realize how closely I've actually worked within finance. It always felt like operations, felt like supply chain, stuff like that. But everything I did had like a financial building block to it. So I jumped in and things clicked. And it's one of those things where like you start seeing and reading through stuff and it's like, I really like this. That was the marathon. I was going to run that marathon. I loved it. But there were plenty of little sprints in there where I was like, okay, I really want to figure out what options are. Because I mean, at 17, 18 years old, I had no idea. I knew what stocks were. I knew you could buy companies that way, but I I had no idea what's, doing option trading was, or Forex, or any of that stuff. The minute I started diving in deeper and deeper, it just sucked me in, and it all the way down to the bottom. There were plenty of things that I have vetted through to figure out, like, is this actually like a way to make money? Can I actually do this as a living? Can I be a day trader? This guy on YouTube says I can. I'm pretty sure I can. Spoiler alert. Usually no. But finance has always been interesting to me. I've always had a love for, where does money come from? How do you get money? There are like 7, 8, 9 different ways revenue can be earned. And it's not all your 9-to-5 job. Talking about music, people get paid royalties. I mean, royalties is a revenue stream, especially if you're a good songwriter. You have your name on a couple of songs and those songs get played enough, you get a lot of royalties. But I think that's probably why the music business is a little twisted. Not everyone gets a lot of royalties. A lot of people go broke trying to be a songwriter or a rock star like me. But I have always had this deep passion of learning, how do I make money? What do I do after I make that money? Someone said at one point, your money's supposed to work for you. What does that mean? My wife and I are working on a book together, which is the most podcast thing to say out loud. So I'm working on this book right now. But the idea behind this book is, I want to take 25 subjects within finance that I wish I could have told 16-year-old me. How much better off would I have been if I had just known that high interest rate credit cards probably aren't a good idea to support the way of life? You smile because I guarantee you've been there too. Like you went high school, you went to American Eagle, and American Eagle's like, hey, if you want, I have this 45% interest credit card. I'll give you a huge limit. It's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah. So I would love to pass down, nieces, nephews, friends. I would love to pass down stuff to them that tell them, hey, it's a good idea to go ahead and just start saving. Put some money away. You'll need it. I guarantee you'll need it. Start investing in something. With Robinhood, oh my God, like how convenient is that for like just retail investors? And they do leaps and bounds more than most platforms do. Stuff that we probably grew up, stuff that your first 401k was probably inside of. That opened up a huge market. I wish those people knew more about that at a younger age and knew, hey, this stuff's available. So that's kind of that's the next step in life now, is how do you teach? How do you pass on this information? I've spent a lifetime trying to acquire it. What good is it that only I know it or have it?
That's true. That's interesting. And like, what would you say, like, when it comes to financial literacy, what are some of the, or what is one or some of the top things that you realize that most people don't know?
When it comes to financial literacy, probably the one thing that bothers me the most is how few states in the US teach it. It's a requirement for like 8 or 9 states to teach it, but it's not the 8 or 9 states you would think of. Some of the largest populous states don't teach it. We're sitting in one right now. And think of what's here. Like, think of all the higher education, think of all the innovation, think of all the startups, think of the crazy. California has like one of the top 10 GDPs in the world. That's insane. And we don't teach financial literacy here. It's not a requirement. And I want to say that less than 1% of students graduate in California never taking a class like that. So to me, that's shocking. How much did you know about money or balancing a checkbook? Maybe your parents taught you, maybe a grandparent taught you, maybe you saw a PBS special, maybe Sesame Street taught it. The Count, he might have taught it. I don't know if mine did. I can't remember. I don't remember if mine ever told me like, hey, don't spend all your money in one place. Don't keep that $100 bill in your pocket that you got for, Christmas from grandma. You're going to lose it. Put it in a bank. No one ever taught me that stuff.
I don't know. I think, I think my stepfather used to call me, Scrooge or money. Cause I would get these allowances and I would be the only one left out of the house who would still have, that same amount of money and more some. And so they were just like, how the fuck, this kid's always got extra money. Like when all the money's gone, he still has got money and he's still doing things. How the fuck does this work out? And, I was just really resourceful. I was just always just thinking about money. So for me, I was always thinking about money, and I love Scrooge. I did fucking love it. I used to love that fucking Scrooge shit. I used to think about swimming in fucking money.
Yeah, diving into the gold coin vault.
Yeah, I thought of that shit all the time. I was obsessed with like this whole way of building. I loved Monopoly. So to me, getting money and building it, it was all about hitting certain steps in life. Yeah. It wasn't really just about like, oh, can you get this money? It's about hitting these doors, these levels in life. You get to certain positions in life where you get these levels of opportunity, and then certain people know how to scale that 10x, 20x, and et cetera.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows how to fucking do that.
There's a lot of sales pitches in that right there.
There you go.
10x, 20x. There's a lot of sales pitch in that, man. That's a loaded statement. Kudos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's levels to it. There's levels to understanding how you can get to certain levels. And once you get to certain levels, there's ways to multiply those levels. Yeah. For example, Elon Musk, I'll give an example. If he didn't create PayPal, and if that wasn't an ace, he probably wouldn't be able to build out Tesla and SpaceX and et cetera. So once he got to a certain level that allowed him to open up the next door level, then he was able to open up the 20x, 10x doors. But if he never would have gotten that PayPal deal, I don't see him being able to quadruple his payment. And it would have, and if he would have said, no, I can do this at this level, if I just get to this level, most people wouldn't agree. They were like, come on, bro. Come on. Nah, you got to get...
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
A lot of people disagreed.
They wrote him off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure his whole life he was probably written off because people have to see you hit certain levels before they believe that you can hit these goals. And once you've led your life with this type of leverage and you've used it strategically, you can, up the game. But people won't believe in you until they see you go through the baby steps and hit each level appropriately.
Yeah. Oh, so, okay. There's two pieces here. I should have stopped you a long time ago because you already struck oil, man. The first one, unlocking different levels. 100. And for all of us that are not Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, those levels, $200,000 a year. $200,000 a year made twice in a row, and with good reasoning that you'll make it for the third, fourth, fifth time. If you reach that level, you are now an accredited investor, meaning there are a world of investments unlocked for you. Just like that. You were successful in your 9-to-5. We would like to make you successful in all other ventures in life. So if you're an accredited investor, you can jump into venture capital. You could be a limited partner. You can put your capital to work with, early stage startups. The second piece that you were talking about that I found really interesting, you had mentioned that once you do level up, it's leverage. It's like fuel. It just takes off. I have definitely seen that. And you end up taking off and you start collecting these coins of like, okay, you've made your first million. Great. You 10x that. Fantastic. You've 100x it. Congratulations. You now own a rocket ship company, which seems to be a pinnacle now. But there's those milestones. And I think the one thing that does is it sets us up for a false sense of this is what accomplishment is. Like, we're all going to do this, right? I'm going to own a rocket ship company. I'm almost positive I am. I could feel it in my bones. But number one, failure is totally normal. Anything you do for the first time, you can expect some failure there. Venture capital, no different. Like, I want to say maybe 99% of early stage startups are never going to get funding. And it's for a multitude of reasons. I wish they all could, because holy cow, imagine the people, honestly, the people like me. I have never gone out to try to get funding for a startup. Hypothetically, I have a huge chance of failing just right out of the gate. I'm going to go talk to 100 venture capital. 99% of them are going to say, no, thank you. Maybe one does. I get that one. I try. Maybe I fail. The fact that I got it, the fact that I tried, the fact that I failed, learned something, I am exponentially more likely to get funding that second time around. Because now they see you went through the steps. You tried. Okay, you did it. The right idea, the right background, the right type of try. If you see that, I would say it's fundable. You know, I look for co-founders because groups of people tend to do better than solo. You look for good management teams because if you surround yourself with people that are smart and make you better, you're more likely to do better. You look for those large addressable markets because you don't want someone who makes an app that only is cool for like 500 people in your hometown. You know, this will tell you where all the Dairy Queens are in my little hometown. Cool. Not really going to be that great for everyone else, but cool. If anyone wants to visit Murfreesboro, Tennessee, shout out. I will tell you where all the Dairy Queens are and the one I don't like. Finally, if you are looking for someone that has that pathway where they can make it a profitable large market, that's crazy. A lot of startups talk about that. You don't always see it come to fruition, but if you just go through the steps, if you just try, if you just fail again, it's okay. You learn something, I hope. That makes you that much better. You know, I think they call that failing forward, right? But if you can do that, the likelihood that you go, you start hitting more milestones, much higher. I would be curious to know what Elon's failed at, what Jeff has failed at. I bet it's a lot. I bet it's probably more than they've been successful at. Probably why they are at the level they are today. Probably.
Yeah, I think Elon, I think, you know, I'm kind of paraphrasing the story. I think Elon, and I've said this before, is Elon, you know, he tried to walk into, I think it was Netscape. And, he, you know, because he's like, hey, I got to get a job, you know, I'm going to go try to work in Netscape. And I think he got into the lobby and then he was like, you know, oh, well, they're probably not going to hire me, and walked out.
What did was it Gretzky or Michael Jordan? That's like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That might've been an Office quote. Maybe that was Michael Scott. I don't know, but how true is that? Like, how often have you psyched yourself out of something? Like, no, there's no, I don't belong in the same room as these people. I'm not even going to go in. It's not worth it. My poor heart can't stand to be let down again. I'm not going to do it. Man, imagine if Elon landed there. That'd be wild. That'd be different. It'd be very different.
It would have been. I mean, but what made him do it was he didn't have the courage. It seemed like, from the story, the way I hear it, he didn't have the courage, you know, to actually, you know, go in there and be turned down. So there was some type of like, you know, this ego where like, I don't want to waste my time and be turned down. They're probably going to turn me down. Well, I guess I better build a startup.
Yeah,
this is what he said.
That's a logical reaction.
He said, "Yeah, they're not." He walks in the lobby. Oh yeah, they're they're probably not gonna hire me. Let me walk out. Well, I guess I better build a startup. You know, I mean, I think there's a difference too. Sometimes there are certain people where you have this like energy or this type of like, I don't know, like you're just like this natural born leader and you're made to build shit.
Yeah.
Right. I call it almost like the founder gene. You know, where you just like. You're always building shit. You're always making shit, you know, like I remember when I was a kid, you know, it started off, you know, I hear now people say these things and they all sound like they have these same patterns where it was like, you know, my friend, you know, he wanted to get a girlfriend and I was new to the school. I didn't have any friends and he was the awkward kid with glasses. And, you know, occasionally he would do this modeling, which I was surprised of. I was like, well, what, you do modeling, but you're like afraid and like, these pictures are great, dude. You know, and then, but he would wear these glasses when he went to school and he looked really nerdy and he had no friends and he wanted to date this one girl named Dana. And, he was like, yeah, she's my dream girl. I was like, dude, I can get you to date her. He's like, no way. And I was like, yeah, dude, I can. I was like, dude, he's like, no way. I said, give me till the end of the day and I'll figure it out. And since that challenge was to help somebody, my humanitarian values kicked in.
My humanitarian values.
Yeah.
What a great, not even like wingmanship.
No, that was my number. That was my numerology that kicked in. My numerology kicked in. My number 9 kicked in. And so, you know, I just like, I had to help him. And so I thought about it all day, and then, you know, we walked home after school because we realized we lived right across, like right up the street from each other. And then I just, you know, I met him and I said, hey, I've got it. He said, what is it? What is it? What is it? And he was excited. He was like, what the hell? Like, you think you can do that? He didn't really believe me, but he was still excited. I said, meet me. I said, when we got his house, I said, hey, go to your house. Do you get some money? If you have like some allowance, whatever, and just meet me back at my house. And he met me at my house. And he was like, hey, what the fuck are we doing? You know, I said, I don't get it. I said,
we're going to pay her to date you.
There we go. No, I said, let's go to the fucking Circle K. We're going to go to the Circle K and we're going to sell candy. And he was like, what? I was like, seriously, I had a price sheet already jotted out.
Had your business plan lined up.
I had it lined up. I mean, but here's what sparked it. Actually, by the end of the day, I almost didn't have the answer. But I was in my last period of class in fifth or fourth grade. And this one girl, she was in her, you know, you put your book sacks on top of your desk towards the end of the day, and everybody's about to dismiss you to go home. And all of a sudden, I remember like this one girl named Erica was sitting beside her, and this girl pulled out some candy out of her bag, and she was about to eat it. And this girl said, oh my God, you got candy. And I saw another girl say that. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just watched this one weird moment. And then she's like, I'll give you 50 cents for that. And she was like, no, this is like my last one. And she was like, actually, I'll give you $1.
Oh no.
And she was like,
now there's a premium.
Yeah. So I saw this fucking transaction happen, and that just said, this fucking light bulb hit. This light bulb hit, one of my aha moments. I was like, wait a minute here. There's a fucking business here.
Supply and demand. It's in.
Yeah. Now, how does that fucking translate to getting the girl of your dreams? Here's how it did it. I was like, we're going to sell candy, and she's going to start coming to you for the fucking candy. And everybody's going to start coming to us for the candy. And we're going to be fucking cool because we're the guys with the fucking candy in school. So we went to fucking school the next day. And I planned it and I plotted it. We had all our price sheets and everything like that. We waited till the end of the day, in the class, and he pulled out the candy out of his bag. And like everybody's like, oh my God. All of a sudden, there was like fucking crowds. We had so much candy in our bag, and we were just like this. We were like fucking selling like crack or something, like the way it was. It was like, whoa, you know, it was like crazy. Like Chaz was like, bro, what the hell? He was like, oh my God. And then the girl of his dreams said, oh, Chaz, can I get some candy? Never said his fucking name before. And he was like, yeah, here, you can have it. So he gave it to her, and etc. Then the fucking next day, we were walking from lunch, and we were going, you know, to go sit down. And we sat down, and they said, hey to him and me. Hey, Chaz and Tavares. And he was like, what? He was so excited. And then after that, we go on recess, and then they came up to us, and they were like, hey, Chaz and Tavares, do you guys want to come over and hang out with us?
And just like that.
And just like that,
You got the in.
he started dating her.
Oh, seriously?
He started dating her. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was going to like figure out something like, no, my love for the candy game has now replaced my love for her.
No, we didn't sell candy anytime. We didn't sell candy anymore after that. We shut down business. Mission was solved. He started, once we got into the clique, we started hanging out and talking. Next thing you know, they changed numbers. And next thing you know, he calls me. He's like, hey, dude, I'm dating her. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
That's wild.
True story.
That's basically like that's like a corny 90s, early 2000s, like rom-com in the making right there.
Hey.
Like Chris Evans
Or
should have played.
Can't Buy Me Love or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I used to watch those classics.
Like Paul Rudd was in this movie, I'm positive. Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
I mean, but those same attributes, you know, inspire humans. Humans behave same ways throughout time. You know, who has power is attractive. Who has, you know, who has influence is attractive.
Yeah.
And so when you're a go-getter and you go out there and you do something that doesn't scale and you take fucking risk, people are attracted to you. People will come to you. People will come to people who take risk, who go out there and risk all, who aren't afraid to fucking fail. People go after these people. Elon Musk, you know, Nikola Tesla, in his time, he was that type of guy, but he didn't know how to control his finances. So that's what fucked him over, you know, but that's another story. But people like this, you know, Peter Thiel, all these guys like this, you know, these, you know, P.T. Barnum, these guys were people who just did amazing shit. You know, the guys who built the pyramids, they did amazing shit. And sometimes when you're that person, you know, people come to you. And you also have haters too, but, you know, more people come to you. Your Zuckerbergs and et cetera. Yeah.
Gotta have haters. Are you truly living if you don't? Whenever I listen to that story, the first thing I pick up on is, oh man, that's supply and demand. Like Oh man, you saw a need in the market. Like that's if only I had given you my book at that age. If only you would have known. You probably would have done this sooner. Who knows?
I mean, you never know. I would have definitely done it sooner.
That's people value. You saw the people value.
Yeah,
you saw
I mean,
what the people wanted, and that makes company value.
Once you see it, I mean, I have these aha moments that randomly pop in. And once I see these aha moments, it just like, there's like these, like I'll say, just wait. Like people come, hey, well, I have this idea, man. I know you can figure something. I'm like, just wait, give me a little bit. And I'll walk around and something will just like, there's just be this fucking light button. Like, this is what we'll do. When I was in Los Angeles, I had this little startup called Move Faces TV.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And like, we were trying to do something that was different. We were trying to disrupt the entertainment industry. But we got a lot of fucking hate by a lot of big people, cease and desist orders and shit, and people threatening us. And it was scary because they weren't used to tech in LA at the time. And so it was just like, people would be like, I don't want to fucking help you because if this shit goes good or if it doesn't go good, then I'm fucked over with Warner and this and this and that. And we literally got pulled into, Warner Brothers by the CFO. The CTO, he sat us down, asked us, hey, you guys are asking a lot of questions. What are you doing? I was looking into this stuff and I'm kind of want to figure out what you guys are doing. It was like a scary room with a fucking long board, a long ass table. And we're at the end. And he's like way at the end. And we look like fucking Darth Vader and shit. It was like scary as fuck. There were
your mom
guards.
pops out. She's like, that's why you don't ask why. This is why. It's all full circle, man. Congratulations. That's a great full circle story. But okay, you get, number one, that's terrifying, right? But all growth is just on the other side of terror and fear. I'm sure of it. Everything that I've ever done that has scared me has always been the stuff that takes you to another level. It's the stuff that opened up a new doorway you didn't know you had on your hallway of life.
I think for me, like I had fucking had a dream that I was building shit in tech and I was building this thing called Move Faces or whatever. And so I was like, well, fuck, I was doing something totally different. I was actually fucking playing music and I was like I was helping my friend out with this boy band shit and we were traveling, going on tour. And I just stopped and I just said, fuck, dude, I'm going to do this tech shit. And I started studying it. And then I literally just started building it right away. In the dream, it was my fucking self telling myself that I needed to do this thing. And at the end of it, it was like, hey, I know you and I know who you are. But I need you to promise me one thing before you wake up, that you just start. That's it. And I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? And I told my roommate, I was like, Brandon, dude. He's like, what the fuck?
Isn't it weird? Like, I guarantee like you woke up at like 3 a.m. and you're like, I got to get started. Like, isn't that wild? Like how that.
It wasn't even at 3 a.m. It was literally in the fucking middle of the day. Like we were fucking practicing for this fucking boy band shit that, he had started and we were working on this record label thing. And like literally we were fucking just moving and doing all these rehearsals all fucking day. And I was just fucking tired and I came home, it was so hot. And I just laid down and I fucking fell asleep. And so like probably like for an hour. Yeah, it was like one of those in the midday. But that's literally how I originally started that shit out. But yeah, I mean, I think there's just certain things, there's people in history where you hear like they had these weird dreams randomly in life and it changed the trajectory of their lives, famous people. And it's like, I started looking it up afterwards. I was like, what the fuck? This is weird, Yeah. But like fast forward to Move Faces TV. When we were in LA, I remember this one Armenian family had this bar in Los Angeles called the Amazon. And I was like, all right, the Amazon. And they were like, hey, we need some people to help us with our business. Our business is slow right now. And my friend, who was this other rich guy, he was like, hey, I know this guy. His name's Tavares. He always comes up with stuff. They're working on this thing. And he invites me over to meet with them. We're sitting down, me and my, buddy Brandon. And he's like, hey, we just want some more heads in here. We need some money. We're not doing that good as a business. This used to be Sylvester Stallone's place, and we're not doing that good anymore. And we just need some more heads in the door. And I was like, why the fuck did they invite me here?
Yeah.
I do tech. I'm playing with computers. I don't understand what I have to do with this. I was confused for a second. I was like, so we walk out and I'm telling the other guy, I'm like, dude, I don't know why did you invite me here? I'm really confused. I'm just like, I don't know what I could do for them. I'm not like a promoter or something. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, help his bar? Like, I'm confused. And they was like, I invited you. He's like, I invited you here, T, because I thought that there's something that you could come up with because you just come up with some weird shit just randomly out of nowhere. And that's why I invited you. I know you can figure something out to help him. And I was like, I don't fucking know anything to help him. And we just kept on walking. And then I was like, holy shit. I think I got it. I think I have something. Move Faces TV. We can throw a red carpet here and we can invite celebrities here, even though we don't fucking know any.
I love that. We'll invite celebrities. I don't know any, but we'll invite them and they will come. Again, that's a movie in the making.
Right. And then I was like, what we'll do is we'll have, we'll help artists. We'll help people who are trying to make it here in Los Angeles and we'll showcase them here. And then we'll have judges.
So like everyone in Los Angeles then.
Yeah. So that's
a market.
But we would really fucking help them. And so we were like, all right, cool. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we get back home and stuff like that. And like, I was like, but fuck, we don't have any money to do this. Like, cause this is going to cost money to do this. Right. So I said, let me think about this. And so what I did is I came up with this plan. I said, hey, wait a minute. There's this guy who was doing these bogus things around LA because you had people like that. And I was like, hey, what is he doing similar? And like, what is he doing wrong? And then I just looked at what he was doing similar. And I was like, hey, we can do this legitimately and with the idea that I'm doing and do it better. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create all these documents. My stepdad was also a lawyer, so I knew how to write legal docs. So I wrote the legal docs and the contracts and agreements. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get all this equipment and we're going to say all these people are going to show up. But we had no fucking people locked down. We had no money to buy the equipment. But we were going to get all these people to join and be a part of this. But in order to do this, they had to pay a certain amount of money or sell them a certain amount of tickets in order to do this. And, the thing is, they would get this opportunity for these celebrity judges who would help sign them. So we were looking for people specifically who could help change their careers or their lives. Anyone in the entertainment industry, but specifically to arts and music and things like that. We started cold calling people and contacting people, and we got some judges who wanted to be involved. And we started.
I bet that was the easiest part too.
That actually, I thought that was harder.
Really? Well, I would imagine like people are so like willing to jump at anything that makes you feel like maybe you're the expert. People are so eager to like jump in and be like, I will do that. You want me to judge? I can judge. Yeah.
Well, we also wanted them to, we wanted them to legitimately sign the people or give them a legitimate deal. It just wasn't like some
there's the hook. That's
fake
what
shit.
That's what cut everyone I was thinking of. That's where they stopped reading.
Yeah. See, that's
like, I got to put action to this. Oh,
see, we wanted something authentic, right? We didn't want this fake shit because I felt that was a problem. People were just selling fucking, cart dreams around there. I was like, that's bullshit. And so that's what I did. I looked for legitimate people who were really going to help these people if they found quality in anyone. So this was a part of the main deal. This was a part of my substance of doing this. And I found some great judges, some people who signed some major acts in the entertainment industry. And we got them to be judges. Then we also said, okay, well, we need this equipment to be able to perform this. I mean, to shoot, we need to hire all these people. We need door people. We need all this stuff. We need host. And they were like, what do you need a host for? I said, we're going to have hosts. We need to have hosts. We're going to have an inside host. We're going to have an outside host. And there's going to be lights. And they're going to fucking be interviewing the people that come in. Then we're going to invite celebrities too. Okay, cool. Like, we don't know any of these people, but how is this going to happen? I was like, we're going to do it. And then we designed this backdrop for the red carpet, figured out where to get the red carpet from, and then the backdrop, and then the lights, and then also contacted the press and got them involved and told them all these people were going to be there, but these people weren't even fucking going to be there. And we invited them all. And eventually we were like, okay, but now we need the actual money to rent the equipment. So what we did is I said, hey, what we'll do is we'll tell people we need this and this is what they need to get in here. And we use that money to actually buy or rent the equipment, even though we didn't have it. But we started the event like we already did.
Yeah. It's like building the plane as it's taking off.
Exactly. We pulled some Reid Hoffman
startup.
Shit. We pulled some Reid Hoffman shit. And, needless to say, what ended up happening is, I learned a lot of valuable lessons just from even this one thing. There were a bunch of other things I did learn, but from this one particular thing is the first time we launched it, I remember like there weren't that many people there, but eventually it got crowded. I was just like watching, like, what the fuck is the problem? And then I got invited by this actor who used to be in like one of those movies, Point Break or some shit like that, with what's that, Patrick Swayze and shit, and in Keanu Reeves, and he was like a major promoter in Los Angeles, and he invited us because he saw that we were bringing people to the Valley, which is like taboo in Los Angeles. Like, how do you bring people to the Valley? And like we were doing that shit.
The Valley.
Yeah, they were like, what the fuck? How's these kids bringing people to the Valley? They're bringing celebrities. Nobody goes to the Valley. It's like taboo at that time. And so what I did is I said, he invited us to this like a premium like promoter thing. And I think he thought we were like promoters or something.
Right.
And I had this big ass van that had like the Moo Faces TV on it and shit like that, driving around Los Angeles. We just look crazy as fuck. We look hella startup-y. We look like ambitious as hell. And there's this cow in it biting a record. And it was just wild. They're like, who the fuck are these guys? They're making a statement. And anyhow, he invites us to this event where these other celebrities were at. And I remember we were sitting inside and I saw like a big line outside. And then he told us, hey, you, come here. You guys get in. And we're in and there's like a listening party. And I'm like, hey, dude. I was telling my buddy, I was like, hey, there's nobody in here, dude. Why the fuck are all those people waiting outside? I thought there was tons of people in here. And my buddy's like, I don't know, T. And I was like, dude, something's weird. I said, something doesn't make sense. I said, what is he doing? And I said, oh, shit. Holy cow. I fucking got it. So the next fucking event we did with the red carpet, and we filmed it, and we put that shit back on YouTube, and it just started getting viral. But I learned something really fucking key from that. I learned a startup fucking magic trick. I learned, hey, I went out and told my buddy, I said, Terry, listen here, buddy. We're going to keep the door closed. Don't let anyone see what's inside and just make people wait. And the fucking line got around the fucking block. Celebrities who were driving past in the Valley were stopping by, A-listers and shit. Hey, what's going on here? So I had the red carpet facing out towards the street. And so they saw fucking this red carpet and people interviewing people. Like, what the fuck is going on over here? Like, hey, how can I get my celebrity here? Like, he wants to come in. Like, how can we get in here? I was like, yeah, just tell him to come in here, blah, blah. We get the number, blah, blah. It was just crazy. Then all of a sudden the line was on there. My buddy, he rented a fucking camera. He was like, oh my God, dude, you're killing LA. What the fuck? And and like, I realized something from that day. And they didn't understand what I was doing. They said, dude, why aren't you letting people in? Like, this is fucked up. They're waiting. That lady is sitting on this and this. And I was like, no, you have to understand. Be patient. There's a method to the madness, right? I'm keeping them out there so this place can be fucking packed out. Because when they see people standing in line and the line looks longer, the more people want to come.
Perception is powerful. Very, very powerful.
Killed it. But yeah, that was one thing that we did. But we did a bunch of crazy shit. But I learned a bunch of stuff through these amazing experiences that, I feel that I can transcend and take to any people or industry or whatever, because you learn about a lot of little small things like supply and demand, how the entertainment industry works, who controls shit, and who doesn't. A lot of people understand. A lot of people think a manager or this person, controls this, but there's certain people that control things and make things move in that place. That's different from Silicon Valley. But I will say that the investment is similar in the ways to the music industry. And I used to always try to, I understood the tech industry and I understood the music or the entertainment industry very well. Film, acting, whatever. I understood all that shit. And I would always try to, create parity between the two. And people were like, dude, they're different. They're different. Like, no, they're fucking the same. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of symmetry there. Like, when you're an artist and you're trying to get signed by a label, the label is the investor. And now what these investors want is they want you to already have traction. They don't want you to come here. They're not into artist development anymore. They're into, hey, what's your traction? What do you look like? Who are your, daily active users? What's your ROI? What are we doing here? Like how much runway do you have? They're looking at all these deep things, just like the entertainment industry is doing exactly the same thing. But people didn't understand the symmetry and the parity between the two industries. And I've always thought that's a magic spot that I fucking have, is I understand the parity. And these motherfuckers are distant. Maybe besides Steve Jobs. I think he fucking understood it. He understood it very well. I think
he probably understood that.
He understood it pretty well. But in Netflix, right? Yeah. Besides that, that was pretty much it, earlier on. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. This is where I feel like the industry is now. It's like you have to build your own, your own crowd. You have to build your own circle, your own demand, and then they're going to come. And then I always hear that, well, bro, well, dude, if I can build it, then why do I need them? Well, that's the fucking point. That's the fucking point.
So you touched on something I think is very powerful, and it's we all want to see that traction. That traction, that perception of traction is very powerful. So like whenever you look at technology, how many early users do you have? You look at, let's say, YouTube. How many subscribers do you have right now? Doing it on your own. How much were you able to muster up? Pivot a little bit and look at finance. How many early users of your application do you have? How many subscribers? How many people are willing to put money into pre-sales? How many people are going to buy your Cybertruck before you ever build a Cybertruck? How many, even better, NFTs? I'm sure you've seen quite a few of these as they get ready to launch, get ready to mint. You see where they start building up a buzz around a website, building up a buzz around a Discord page. They start a group, they start a community, because ideally, whenever they mint, the more demand, the higher that dollar's going to go, because the supply is it's set. There's only 1,000 of these. If that demand is high and they perceive that value there, it's going to go through a roof. You see this happening across all. The more they're different, the more they're the same. No matter how you splice it, traction's important, and being able to create that people value, that perception of we have value here for you. It is very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, for you, when you're looking at investing in companies, you're looking at a lot of the same type of symmetry there. But I'd also like to ask, when you were, I guess I was saying, like, when you first came down to, or you moved to Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
And you lived in like a 1-bedroom. Like I saw you mention some stuff like that. Like, what is that? What do you mean by that? Like, were you living in a 4-story house prior, or just Silicon Valley because everything's so ridiculously expensive, you had to move into this small room because it's like $5,000?
So this is why the move from East Coast, from Tennessee to West Coast was terrifying. In Tennessee, I did just fine. I had no incentive to move. I had a large house. It was a farm. It's a farmhouse. It's like 10 acres. Beautiful 10 acres. Had a view. I had a nice car. I had a couple of nice cars. I had toys that I like to play with. I had ATVs. I had friends. I had a community. I had a ton of stuff. Why in the world would you give all of that up to move 3,000 miles away and live in an apartment that, frankly, is the size of my bedroom? Why? And it costs 3 times as much. Why would you do that? That was terrifying. That was scary. But I had visited Carmel with my wife. We went on vacation. It was beautiful. The experience was just kind of a life-changing moment. Like, you get there and you're like, oh, this is a place I am meant to be. This just hits the soul right. And I had told her after we left, hey, I'm going to figure out some way, but we will get back here. It's no way we will ever afford it, but we'll get back here. That was like 2014, 2015. This is a long time ago. And I was working night shift with Nissan as an analyst at the time, or a manager at the time. And at night, I would cruise Zillow and be like, okay, yeah, now I know for sure I cannot afford to live there, but I'm going to cruise. I'm going to look up and down the coast. I'll figure something out. I'm like, okay, where's Mendocino? Maybe they have places to work. They don't. But maybe they do. I could work on a farm. I was trying whatever I could, but I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but looking back, it was manifesting. I was putting this out there. I wanted this and I wanted it bad. And from Nissan, Tesla called, and this was like 2 years later, maybe less, maybe a year later, but Tesla called, and I knew it was right. The first 1 or 2 times I said, no, my better judgment tells me I should not let go of all of this awesome stuff I have. I don't need to let go of this comfort zone because it's beautiful and I love my comfort. But we jump back in and they call a third time and it's like, okay, I've been manifesting this and I got to do this. I got to get past this comfort zone. I got to get out there. And if it means letting go of everything that I've built up, draining a savings account, living in a 1-bedroom studio apartment, having one car, if it means doing that to experience it, I'm going to do it. I'll make this happen. And I remember this feeling of it felt horrible, but being at the airport, flying from Nashville to San Jose the first time and thinking my entire life is consolidated right now into 2 carry-on bags and 1 checked bag. And that fear is healthy. That fear is what pushes you. It's what springboards you from your comfort zone to something you had no clue you could accomplish. While I was at Tesla, I got a master's degree. I got a master's degree from Harvard while working full time, working more than full time. I jumped into a early stage startup, finishing a master's, working again more than full time. I mean, you've done that before. It's like 60, 70-hour work weeks of trying to fix problems and get people moving and make things happen. I did not know that I had that extra gear. I did not know that I had that grit. I didn't realize that I could literally meet all of those challenges head on and crush them. No clue. But I did. I might have cried a few times, but I did. That's probably healthy too. A good mental breakdown's healthy for everyone, right? But I was able to overcome all of these different fears. And the only thing that I had to really go off of it was, I want to. I don't know why, but I want to. It's fuel. It burns at a degree that just sets everything ablaze. Because I got over myself, because I let go of my possessions, because I let go of my comfort, I left my friends, I left my family, I left, I almost said young kids. They were nieces and I didn't leave my kids. Nieces and nephews, I stepped out of their life for 5+ years and then just recently reinserted myself back in as cool Uncle Tim. But I just recently joined them again. And it feels like it's been 5 months. That's how fast things moved. That's how quick things come at you. And they come and they go, a blink of an eye. I remember my first vacation when I lived out here. We went to Mendocino because I wanted to see it. We went there and we did every year after that for Thanksgiving. I don't do that today. I would love to, but I live in Nashville again. And I can already feel that comfort zone setting back in. And I know it's setting back in because whenever I flew out here, I was like, God, I know there's like 2 connecting flights I have to hit. I have to switch terminals at LAX, which is a nightmare. I don't want to do this, but I did it. Probably to get outside of that comfort zone and talk with you. Here's something that you have to say. Connect a few dots. Influence that next Elon Musk that's listening to the podcast. I'm almost positive Elon listens, by the way. I don't know if I've told you this, but I'm pretty sure he listens to you. If you are listening, Elon, I miss you. But what is it that we're hitting on today that someone's going to hear and someone's going to say, yeah, I could do that? You mean all he had to do was just get over the fact that this was scary? That's not hard. I do that all the time. Maybe that encourages, Joe or Jane engineer in middle of nowhere, Georgia, to hop on a plane and move out here and try. Maybe that convinces someone to kick down that door and say, I'll go to LA. I'll disrupt film. I'll disrupt music. I don't care. What do I have to lose? And if I do lose everything, why does that matter? Going back to zero has never been a bad thing. It's never been impossible to build it up again. I want to say majority of billionaires have hit zero and bounced right off of it. That's very possible. It's nothing to be scared of. Failure is nothing to be scared of. Comfort zone is nothing to be comfortable with. Yeah.
Well, fucking said. Yeah. I definitely think, the comfort zone, getting out of your comfort zone, you grow. But I think a lot of people are in fear of getting out of their comfort zones because it's scary. It's scary to fucking, do those things that don't scale. It's scary to do those things that, you don't have an answer to, or if you're going to be successful, people might laugh at you, or you might fail pretty miserably, and everyone will, your whole life can go down, right? Everything you built, yourself upon just crumbles to the ground, and there's that fear, but like I said before too, as well, is like, when you reach a level to where you're, like an Elon Musk, it's like there is a healthy risk, right? Where there's like, hey, you can lose every fucking thing you have, but it's like, I still have my brand. Once you build that brand, it's just invaluable. Building yourself as a brand is invaluable. And I feel like guys like Elon Musk, have figured out that their branding is more valuable than the money and assets that they actually own.
Actually, I like that. At the end of the day, what else do you have? If you peel back money, if you peel back cars, you peel back houses, which I want to say, I think Elon's done. I think he's gotten rid of most of those worldly things that could be, on TMZ, Elon's $99 million estate in Bel Air. No one's going to do that. What are they going to show? Elon's $10,000 pod house container, shipping container he lives in. That nothing cool about that. But he's peeled back everything where all he had, what does he have left? He's got him. I guess Tesla. I guess SpaceX. But
boring company. Yeah.
Boring, yeah. Yeah. He has those things. They're extensions of himself, but at the end of the day, he has his brand. He has himself. And what is his brand? I'm doing what I think is right, and I'm doing it because I don't think anyone else is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's doing is pretty awesome. I think there can be more people who can do similar things. I think he sparks, I think he sparks the imagination. I think he sparks a lot of the amazing, innovation and energy into the space that it didn't exist in prior. Because you got Jeff Bezos, I think you had Google with Virgil before, that they did something with Virgin, and I think they separated and did their own different thing now. And you have these different, now these mega billionaires who weren't doing these things as much, but Elon Musk kind of like, he sparked this new wave of, hey, let's take it a fucking step further. Let's take human, species a step further. I mean, like, I remember like terraforming. I'm going to be honest with you. I was thinking about Mars when I was like a little kid.
Right.
And I was like thinking about how I could terraform Mars as a kid. I remember I grabbed a ragu jar, and I literally fucking grabbed a ragu jar, and I thought about what are the basic elements that life needs to sustain itself that we know. Water, soil, sunlight, right? And I started off with that, and I put it in a fucking jar. I tightened it, and I just left it there. And I was like, all right, nothing's fucking happening in here. Nothing's fucking happening. Like, I wanted to know how do clouds happen? Like, how do clouds actually happen? Could I see some type of formulation of some type of thing happen? And then I would say probably after 6 months of just every day before I would go to school, I would look in the fucking window and look at that fucking ragu jar. And then eventually I fucking started, I saw like these little green things popping up in there. It probably was contaminated if you think about it now, but it probably was contaminated with something in there that wasn't natural. So that's why I also grabbed some of the shit. But I wanted to see if there would be some type of like forms of life that would exist in there. And if the water would, eventually evaporate. The water never fucking evaporated out of the fucking ragu jar. It would there would be like what do you call it? Participation, whatever the fuck you call it with the I'm fucking stumbling. Precipitation of the water, or of coming up to the top of the actual ragu jar to where it would be like a cloud. It would be like foggy inside, almost like a clouds. And I was like, holy shit, this is so cool. And I would see that happening in there, and then I would see these little green things growing in there. Then there was these weird little wormy looking things that would be swimming underneath the soil all the time. I was like, what the fuck is that thing? I don't know what these little things are, but they're little white, little warmy looking things that were in there, living in that shit. And then they weren't there prior that I ever saw. It was just soil that I grabbed out of those, like your mom would grab those little fresh soil things to plant plants. Yeah. I grabbed some of that and I grabbed some water and then I just screwed the jar in there and that was it. And eventually I saw some like green shit growing in there and some weird looking things going in there. But I wanted to, and I'm sure that wasn't exactly anything accurate, but I wanted to see like, what would it be like to have some type of environment with just the basic things? And I'm sure I was very off on a lot of different things, but I wanted to experiment. Like, how would that look like if we were terraforming Mars, if we had to do it all over again, or any planet, if you will, right? And so I kind of wanted to see what that was like, and like, would other things just pop up? If you have these basic elements, and like I said, I probably did it fucking wrong. Probably did it wrong. But it was a thought that count. I was a weird fucking kid, by the way.
It's like I'm starting to pick up on all this now, and I'm putting it together. Like I get it. I see why. I see why your mom was like, "Stop asking. I don't know how to terraform Mars. I don't know what to tell you." Yeah, I get it. I get it now. That's wild. My wife, always asking the deep philosophical questions, would probably ask me, "Oh, so that's what it felt like to create it. What was it like destroying it?" She'll go to that dark level and it's like, I don't know. I felt powerful. Really? Tell me about that power.
Yeah. My co-founder of the startup Move Faces, when we first started it, he actually, he went to Harvard and he started studying brain. Something with doing with the brain. I forgot. I haven't talked to him in a while, but that's what he started doing. Last time I saw him, he came out here and visited. But he started doing some stuff like that. But me and him would get into a bunch of like mental spats all the time when I would try to tell him and explain him stuff. But what we were doing at that startup at a very young age, it inspired him. And, he met up with a professor and, told the professor, to, get him a letter of recommendation. And, he had to show him like, what did you do differently? And he's like, yeah, I went to Los Angeles and built this company, my friends, Move Faces. And he told him about some of the stuff that we were doing. He said, so he gave him a letter of recommendation. And so then he became a student there. Then he started teaching and doing some, papers and things like that. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. And actually, like neurology and specifically like neuroplasticity is incredibly interesting to me. There was a book I had read a while back, and it touched a lot on neuroplasticity. The idea that you can trick yourself into doing a lot of stuff or healing yourself even. And the idea was that you have these different synapses that fire in the brain. Those create neural pathways. The more those synapses fire together, they start to wire together. So the idea is if you have these synapses that are dead, and you can get the ones next to it to fire, you potentially can create a new neural pathway and heal the previously dead synapses, which is incredible because the only thing that teaches is mind over matter in a way. You can do things. And of course, I am just butchering the explanation of this because I am not a neurologist. I have merely read a book, but my takeaway from that, being a lifelong learner, is that if I want to, I can change my outcomes, and I can change my outcome by changing my inputs. If I can change my inputs, my outcome can be whatever I want it to in theory. We talked about manifestation a little bit. If I put things out there, if I change my input and I want my end destination to be something specific, let's say, man, I really want podcast hosts to come to me. All it takes is just one or two changes to that input. I really like this guy. I'm going to follow him on Instagram, and I'm going to send him a note. I'm going to see if maybe he wants to have a conversation. That conversation sparks up. Let's say it's the greatest conversation ever had. Now there's 50 new podcast hosts that say, hey, I heard this. That snippet was awesome. I would love to talk to you further about this detail. And just like that, your inputs have changed your output. Now, out of nowhere, podcast hosts are coming to you. And that's just a super basic way to look at it. But imagine if you told yourself, I I would love to earn a second income, but I don't want to do anything to earn that second income. What could I do to possibly do that? You start looking, doing a little bit of research. You obsess over it for a little while. You find a couple of options and you say, okay, I want to create a YouTube channel where all of my content creates ad revenue. Okay, I can do that. Change that input. Now all of a sudden that output's changed. It's very, very powerful. In the book I read specifically, it talks about stroke victims. Being able to find synapses that are close to the damaged synapses. And now you can use, let's say, the pinching of this finger to help this finger move. Something like that. Not quite as good as how can I make second income, but probably better, right? So I love neurology and I love plasticity like that. The idea that if you can just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, if you can create a deep enough rut, eventually it becomes habit.
Wow.
Reading every day, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's deep, and I agree with that. Habit forming things are amazing. I mean, I've met some, really cool people in the past, Paul Graham, Tim Draper and things like that. And his dad, Bill Draper, and et cetera. I even met the CEO of or the ex co-founder of Instagram. Over at Stanford in a class of 30. Yeah, he gave me this book. He said to read. He recommended, and it was pretty awesome. But I've met some crazy people that have inspired life. And I remember I also went to Michael Jackson's funeral, which was amazing. Not many people went to Michael Jackson's funeral.
Yeah,
right?
How does that come about?
Yeah, so it was a manifestation.
So you killed Michael Jackson? Is that what I heard? This is your fault?
That's a clickbait? How I killed Michael Jackson. There you go. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
No, I mean, no. So like literally what happened is like, I was just like, when I moved to Los Angeles, like, dude, I've always got to meet Michael Jackson and stuff like that. I just always thought that. I was like, that'd be awesome as soon as I get here. And when I first moved there, I was just like, yeah, cool. Then randomly, my best friend at the time, he calls me. He's like, hey, Michael Jackson just died. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, he died. I was like, get the fuck out of here. That's crazy. And so he's like, I was like, that's crazy. I said, we never even got to see him yet. And he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, yeah. Then he calls me back like,
but there's one more chance.
Right. I thought that was so sad. I was like, dude, I've always wanted to see Michael Jackson in my entire life, and I never saw him. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm a big fan. And all of a sudden, he calls me back and says, hey, dude, you won't believe this. My mom won some fucking tickets to go to Michael Jackson's funeral.
How in the world is Michael Jackson selling tickets to his funeral? That's amazing.
Right? And so like,
be the fifth caller.
Yeah. So there was like thousands of people all around the world who were trying to go to Michael Jackson's funeral, and then only certain people that were invited by the family were allowed. And I remember
people were pawning these off.
Oh my
scalping
God.
them outside the venue.
If you got in there, you were so lucky. And, because there was like, there was people like all the famous people like Usher, every famous person, they were all sitting down in the first row and stuff like that. Brooke Shields, everybody that he ever knew, like the biggest people like in the industry were there. And it was in this big ass stadium. It was crazy. And I remember we went in a private limo to get in there in this secret way. And I remember there was this one girl, she was beating on our limo door saying, hey, oh my God, please take me with you. I took a one-way plane here. I don't have a way back to get back home to my country, but I need to see Michael. I need to see Michael. She figured out that there was a secret way that people were coming in. And she had was waiting behind the bush and just jumped out and started beating them. I was like, what the fuck? I felt guilty for going in there, but I felt guilty. And I was like, holy shit, is this wrong? Should I get out of the fucking car and just like, let her do this? Because Jesus, this is horrible. I couldn't imagine being Michael Jackson. But I went in there and it was amazing. And like, there were moments, I cried for a second, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it did happen because it was like so wild. It was so like they played all these videos. Yeah. And then later I became friends with the Jackson family, and then they invited me to their house. Like this happened randomly. Yeah. We were at a red carpet with Moo Faces TV. We started working with MTV, and they were on the red carpet, his nephews 3T, and like we became really close friends. And so like they invited me over to their spot. We went out to some places. I met Diana Ross's kids, Evan Ross, and he already knew who I was before I even I went to this one place that they wanted to meet up at, and I was like, holy shit, that's Evan Ross in my brain. And the door guy was like, you're not getting in. I was like, I said, I'm here. I'm waiting for the Jacksons. He was like, yeah, right. And I'm waiting for such and such. I was like, all right, fucker. And
the one time you're like, you just wait.
Yeah, I was like, you just wait, motherfucker. And the Jacksons pulled up. Some of the Jacksons, like the 3Ts, they pulled up in like an old Honda. You would have never expected them to drive an old Honda, but that's not the car that they could afford. But it was the one that they drove there to be incognito over in West Hollywood. And while I was waiting there, I was like, nah, they're coming. They're coming. He was like, yeah, okay, well, you got to stand out here until then. I was like, are you fucking serious, bro? And then all of a sudden, Evan Ross comes over and some other celebrities was like, hey, man, what's going on? And I was like, hey. He's like, yeah. They said, Taj will be here in a minute. I was like, they fucking know me? Evan Ross? Evan Ross's son coming to me and say, hey, man, they already knew it before I fucking even said so. That's crazy. Jeez. I thought that was wild and bananas. I was like, holy shit, that's so awesome. And so the door guy was like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? You know, he's like,
hey, man, I said
he was nicer
earlier. You know we're cool, right? Like, I didn't mean none of that.
He was exactly like that. And then when he saw him pull up, he was like, holy shit. And he was like, he was nice the whole night. He was throwing us all kinds of stuff. He kept on coming, trying to be my friend. I was like, this is so fucking fake. Yeah, it's so fucking fake.
Isn't that kind of his life in general? That's incredible.
But I have an obituary of Michael Jackson that nobody really has unless you were there. So I still have it, and like this bracelet of his to get in and etc. So it's like probably shit gonna be worth a lot of money. It's probably worth a lot of money now, but I have all this shit that they gave there, and I kept it. And I remember going to the also going to Hugh Hefner's house before he passed, which was wild. With he invited Move Faces TV there. Also, Jamie Foxx invited us to a private party, but that was pretty wild. It was really cool. I met a bunch of people because they kept on requesting us, and I was like, holy shit, they just wanted us to come. But we had this little weird spat with MTV for a while because they were just like, they thought that we were going to take over their branding because I was doing what they were doing, but more of a newer reimagined way. And so they found it more threatening because I was doing more online. And so this was like this weird little thing. And then I had this weird thing with YouTube because when I would put this shit on YouTube, YouTube didn't like it because we had our own platform at the time too. So it was like this MTV, YouTube, and the radio stations, and then the motion picture industry was kind of fucking with us. And I remember the guy who was like one of the, he was handling like the video stuff from like one of the things that had to deal with the record labels where he can show music videos on YouTube. And he sent us this fucking crazy like email that was like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what is this guy doing?
It's a strong opening.
Yeah. So there was a lot of resistance in Los Angeles when they found out, there's these kids coming around here playing around with this tech shit, and they're doing stuff that can, to scale that is not like, that's similar to ours, but almost better and newer and cutting edge. And it's not us, and they don't have billions of dollars.
Imagine if they knew that you guys were just selling tickets just to pay for like the PA equipment.
They didn't fucking know.
Right?
They didn't know.
Imagine if they knew that first story of this is how we very scrappy put this thing together and just made it work. Imagine if they knew that. That would blow their minds. Like we're scared of this company right now. We're worried about what they're doing. And just X number of months, X number of years ago, this is what they were doing.
Well, I had heard conversations from other people in the industry, and they basically said like, "Hey, you guys are getting around here. People are talking about you guys, but I'll tell you that it's kind of funny. Like they know you have the potential to do this, so nobody really wants to help you."
Isn't that a shame?
It was a really blocker, and then there was like it was on the tail end of MySpace. Yeah. And it was a tail end of all that shit that was going down. And so like there was this big blocker. So there was just like the industry wasn't really accepting of people. You had to be somebody who had a status of jobs at the time because they weren't so new to tech coming in the industry. They were very against it at the time. They weren't really into, tech come in here. You had to be a big ball like Steve Jobs to come in there and start saying, I'm going to shoot movies and blah, blah. Like even Reed Hastings, I think his name is, of Netflix, I think he had issues trying to get his stuff into Hollywood, which is why he had to start paying for his own studio productions and everything else like that. And so a lot of people had this, but unless you were like Jobs, because they saw how a lot the conversations I had and I heard from the bigger people was that they saw how Steve Jobs came there and kind of like dictated the entertainment industry as far as music. And they saw also how this other guy, what was his name? The fucking guy, Sean Parker, disrupted the music industry. So they were afraid. I mean, literally the CTO of Warner Brothers invited us and he told us this directly in my fucking face. Me and Brandon and Pedro, he was like, yeah, last time I had some fucking guys doing this, it was a guy named Sean Parker and he fucked us up. And so I listen anytime I get something weird, that's somebody asking some weird ass questions and have these ideas, I bring them in here to sit with me. So that's why you guys are here. And I was like, oh, fuck, was he going to shoot us or something? Like, what's going on, dude?
That's the logical next step.
Yeah, we were scared. But we were doing pretty good. We did partnerships with MTV consistently, but they just wouldn't let us get past them. They wanted us around. It was like that girlfriend who just wanted you around, but didn't want you to date anybody else, because, she didn't really like you, but she just wanted you around just so you wouldn't date anybody else. It was like that kind of relationship. So it was really weird. And a lot of my friends worked there and did a bunch of shit there, but it was just a real odd experience. But we learned from it. We learned a lot of things from it. And, I still live and I still go on. But enough about that. Tim, let's talk about finance. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about NFTs. Where do we start?
Man. All right. If we're gonna dive into the subject, there's only one logical place we can start on that. Blockchain. That if we're looking at the foundation of cryptocurrencies, the foundation of NFTs, you have to step back and say, okay, let's talk about blockchain for a minute. So with blockchain, and this is funny because I looked down at notes because that's such a huge, elaborate, crazy maze of ideas and theories that make this entire thing work. But blockchain itself is a way that you can take a distributed ledger technology and use that to store data for just about anything. So the DLT is distributed because that is an extremely safe way to do it, meaning you have a ledger of what transactions happened. I have the same ledger. They have a ledger. They have a ledger. We all look at it and we all agree that our ledgers match. Now, why that's important? Someone can't go back and change it. I can't make an adjustment to that ledger without you knowing it, them knowing it, them knowing it, and them knowing it. So whenever we're thinking about the way current finance works and we think about transparency, a DLT is a way that you can add transparency to a financial, a fiduciary or an institution. Think about all the new fintech apps you see. Those fintech apps have blockchain underneath them that are showing transactions from point A to point B to point C. And if you were to go even further than just fintech, think about supply chain. Where did your soybeans come from? Where did the lithium in your batteries come from? What country? What state? What company did it? You think about Apple had a terrible experience with Foxconn. Whenever you look at ethical practices, this ledger would be a way that we could look behind that curtain and hold corporations, countries, hold them accountable. And that is something that has never existed. But this blockchain technology exists within cryptocurrencies. It exists within NFTs, smart contracts. It is a way that you can say, hey, that picture of a monkey that you have on your Twitter actually does belong to you because I and 10,000 other people agree that you purchased that right here. That one building block is the one thing I find the most interesting. NFTs are cool. I do see there's a purpose for those in the future. Even in music, Kings of Leon released an album as an NFT, meaning they minted X number of them. And if you owned one of those minted albums, there is worth in that. Supply and demand. If there is limited supply and high demand, there's a high price, which is why we saw an NFT market skyrocket and then kind of pop and kind of fizzle out a little bit. all good things tend to do that, it seems. The late 90s, the dot-com boom, same thing happened. But we still work within the fundamental core building blocks of the dot-com boom. That's Web 2.0. Web 3.0 is going to be based entirely on this type of blockchain technology, AI. So you will interact with information and people in a way that, best way to say it, in a way that a 1980s sci-fi movie would say we would be doing it. Earlier, you were talking about whenever you go into get like your oil changed, and you see the way that like a manager on the floor is kind of reading the emotion of the buyer and adjusting what he's going to say based on, does he understand? No? Okay, let's raise that price a little bit. Imagine if there was technology that could read your facial expressions and do that automatically. Imagine something was gauging the look of anxiety, the look of pleasure, and it would change the way it was pitching or change the way it was selling or changing the way it was interacting with you. And then it was learning from that. So now you dabble with machine learning. All that information gets stored. And if it is individual to yourself, it gets stored just for you. And so now the virtual assistant in your life is telling you, T, you look like you had a bad day. How about some kitty cat puppy videos? You always laugh, It's like having a best friend that physically isn't there. It's like the Jetsons, But blockchain plays a big piece into creating an environment, an ecosystem, and even an economical ecosystem where this can exist. Utilizing cryptocurrencies to transact, utilizing blockchain to buy real estate. You can buy very real estate in a virtual metaverse setting today. As someone who is interested in real estate in general, that blows my mind. If you were to say that to a parent, a grandparent, a friend back home somewhere and say, yeah, I just recently started buying acreage. I buy it virtually now. That would blow some minds. But when you think about it, metaverse real estate, of course, is going to be extremely valuable because the metaverse is where we more than likely are going to be living our existence outside of the normal day-to-day that we have to live. We will all more than likely meet there. We'll enjoy concerts there. We'll have dinner together there. We'll attend ceremonies together there. I can think of things that I hate going and doing, and I would rather probably do it in a metaverse. Man, I hate sitting in traffic. But if it meant watching the 4th of July fireworks at North Beach and no traffic, I will meet you there in the metaverse and watch it. I would love to see David Gilmour play at Pompeii. All those cool Pink Floyd laser lights. I'm probably not going to see that, but I could see that in the metaverse. It's a very interesting concept to think that the existence as we know it is just getting started, and those horizons are opening, and it's opening in crazy verticals, things that we do every day. Pay your bills, call your mom, answer your email, join a meeting. I know we've seen commercials recently of where you can join a meeting and virtually you're there around the table with everyone. In a work from home culture and a work from anywhere, live your remote life, that's probably important to still be able to do that. So we talked about brand a little bit. Imagine creating your own online metaverse brand of who you are. What do you look like in the metaverse? How do you interact with people? What do you sell? What do you provide? It is something that the world is pushing towards faster and faster and faster because it's no longer this big, scary, unheard of, unexplainable thing. It is explainable. We can see it. We do get it. When we say AI, whenever we say machine learning, more often than not, people seem to understand what those things are, or at least have an idea of them. more so than 5 years ago. Whenever Oculus came out, however many years ago that was, how crazy of a concept. It's very real now. I love where you live, but imagine buying a new home and just virtually touring that home. Crazy. Virtually walking in your office. It is an odd thing that I didn't think we probably would ever get there. Mainly because I still don't see flying cars. I was positive we would have flying cars before we had virtual reality, but here we are, out of whack.
Wow, that's a mouthful. So you think that you think that basically that NFTs and the whole crypto space is here to stay. You don't think it's over with?
No, it's definitely not over with, and it's not over with because it has building blocks that are going to be essential to the growth of a metaverse. I believe the metaverse is coming. I believe it's here. I believe that a lot of companies are going to be struggling to figure out how to imprint themselves into a metaverse. Whenever they realize that it's harder to sell physical goods and they could have been selling virtual goods at a faster rate, you'll see a bad example, but you'll see an Amazon want to jump in. Whenever Warner Brothers learns that they could have been selling albums and they could have been selling them at a higher cost by minting them 10,000 at a time, and people want that ownership, it's only a matter of time. Big corporations are going to be quickly trying to figure out how to enter. Facebook, I think, probably leads the way in this case. And I think that's probably a good thing to point to. Companies that we know as innovative, if they are literally changing their entire branding existence to something like from Facebook to Meta, it's a good indicator that something huge is changing. You don't see moves like that very often. There's a lot of confidence there.
No. I agree with you. I mean, I was at Facebook and I worked on internal tools, in AI. So I worked on a lot of things that dealt with historical data and the interactions of multiple computers and systems and softwares and things like that, and predictability of future events and things like that. So I definitely understand where you are. Great place, great company. I just think that there's I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that need to be improved with Oculus itself. It does feel very real. It's creepily real, if you will. It's really creepy. But it gives me a headache and dizzy. But I'm a deep thinker. Remember I told you I have like these 20 fucking whys.
Yeah.
So when I put on an Oculus helmet or set or headset, I'm thinking like, holy shit, fuck, this can get crazy. This can get deeper. This can get insane. And then you start thinking about reality within itself. Then you start thinking like, well, shit, when this gets to the point where it's so clear that it's hard to identify reality versus virtual reality, right? Or, augmented reality and things like that. Like where does the line get to where it's just like, well, fuck, this is almost real. And then when you start thinking deeper from that, then what the fuck, could this be an actual simulation of itself? Not trying to ride the pigeonholes of what I've heard other people talk about.
Sure.
But when you put yourself in the actual, headset of it and you look at the technology, you can see how it can easily enhance itself, how you can be in a different place, playing these different sports and ducking from them. And you see these beautiful horizons, these beautiful landscapes, and you can feel this like nostalgic feeling of just like peace and like, hey, you want to go out there and go to the lake and chill and get some fresh air. You can fucking put on a headset and do that, right? You want to visit your friends. You feel like you're in the fucking room with them right there. It's just that realistic. And it's like, if the clarity, even with Oculus itself, increased to the clarity almost to what we can see on 4K TVs, right, it's game over. And then some other things about like different things you can do with like movement and touching things and just, different hand gestures and emotions and things like that. If once you get to the point where those things are kind of figured out, where if I can move my hand, it feels just like that in the metaverse. I don't know. I think there needs to also be some type of people that need to be also built upon when it comes to the psychology or the people who deal with like mental illness, who need to check on people who actually, adopt these things, because there's going to be a lot of weird stuff going on in people's brains, because now they're going to be like, holy shit.
And I am positive that's real. I am positive that will be a case. And I think therapy in general will be a use case of virtual reality. Another huge use case I see is education. I think of where I'm from in Middle Tennessee. Taking a field trip to see Ireland, to see Africa, probably not going to happen. But imagine being able to open horizons and show young, malleable minds what is out there. Imagine learning history literally through the lenses of someone experiencing it who was there. That will be wild. But on top of all that, we as a civilization, we as founders, we as builders, we as venture capitalists, we as investors, we have a responsibility here. It's called ESG, environmental, social, governance. This is important. This means that as we are investing into this new technology, as we are investing into this growth, there's got to be checks and balances. There's got to be things that we're weighing. Did we find out that wearing an Oculus headset is causing faster global warming? Something like that. Of course, that's ridiculous, but I intend it to be ridiculous. Governance, ethical. What kind of crazy stuff can happen in a metaverse? We probably don't know yet. Whatever you can imagine could probably happen. How do you protect? How do you not infringe on rights, but also protect people from their rights being infringed? There are deep, deep things that we have to take into consideration before we say, let's go build it. What was it in Jurassic Park? You were so busy, so caught up wondering if you could that you didn't stop to think, should we?
Right.
Are we there? I think Elon even says we're at that point. Scary, yes, but I think we have a lot of good to cover. And I think we have this much bad that we really have to watch out for. That social responsibility is something that we all hold. Investors, builders, users, we're all responsible for what we make out of this. A lot of good can be made out of it. Is that what we choose? To be determined.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's deep, and I can see how it can be leveraged, but I always look at things as, you'll find the people who do the bad things, and they will discover the best parts of the technology and how it can be utilized.
Yeah, that's it's a terrible example, but it's the one thing that comes to mind. The porn industry has been on the bleeding edge of viewing technologies for decades. Someone had told me that at one point. I don't remember where I heard it or where I learned that. And it probably is true. Let's be honest. It's probably true.
Of course.
Something like that is leading to innovation. But I can also point to hard times, bad times, Great Depressions, recessions. Those also lead to some of the greatest innovation. What we're going through right now as an economy, there's going to be a lot that comes out of this that leads to greater innovation and probably safer innovation. You look at the way venture capital has moved in the past decade. You look at how valuations have been with companies. You look at companies that have gone public that have huge, huge valuations, and look at that course correction. There's a lot of learning to be done out of that. That learning has to lead to this next wave of innovation being a little bit more sustainable. That's also where ESG comes into play, because now you have to look at how much money does your board make? How much money do your CEOs make? Your shareholders, who owns this company and what are they using the profits for? There is a lot of importance that comes in play when we start looking at social responsibility. And I think probably the past few years, That's been jump started. Today is Juneteenth. How many companies do you know of or have seen that are acknowledging that as a holiday? It's definitely not my platform to talk about, but there's a lot. What was different in 2019? Same day, a lot less conversation. So just since 2019, you have seen a huge push. And it's not just that. It's working from home. It's how we treat healthcare. It's all kinds of crazy stuff. You see a ton of growth just across the board. Innovation comes out of hard times.
Yes, they do, because that's how we throughout human history we've learned to survive, at our hardest times. And I think that's just I think that's a trait that we've inherited for our survival in general. I think you also mentioned some amazing things, and there's also some things that I typically like to think of. We're going to jump on Mars. We're going to talk about sperm, and all the other planets. I forgot the actual name of it, but anyways, let's talk about Mars. And let's talk about VR, AR, and things like that. It's like, if we're thinking about things to, going to Mars, I can see things like Tesla Bot, and I can see headsets being used to help, be, the first, settlers on Mars. We can send the Tesla bots, but we can use VR headsets to actually do that. We can leverage the technology that we're using at Tesla with the LiDAR and stuff like that, to recognize the things that are around us and use that information, that, historical data, to be able to make a really amazing experience, but also have that headset as a reference. I think that the issue is like, when you're thinking about that, it's like, how do you translate information from a headset from here to Mars per se? It may not be something that you can do instantaneously, but you may be able to do it off of a ship not too far off from Mars. Or maybe you can have multiple ships within the route of Mars that have some type of almost like routers in a way, to where they're just like multiple points, to where that can help speed up the transmission of information or how would you say, some type of satellite, or some type of technology that allows the internet to transfer from here to there, or some type of communication or information in general. We could do different things like that to speed it up, because I understand that there is some limitations with information being transferred and communication being transferred from that far of a distance. So it's like, I wonder how far have we thought about those things, but I also wonder I can see Tesla bots being utilized to help land and help, settle Mars, as being the foundation of, or trading out human effort, right? Instead of getting people to do it at first, take the crazy risk, we can send the Tesla bots there, get them to, build everything for us before we even hit the ground.
The first thing that I think is the blocker, and I agree with you, I think the distance is going to be probably the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome. That's a long ways. Even if we set up shop on probably the furthest place that we've put humans, the moon, that's still a long ways. So how do you relay those signals? I think there's still a lot of innovating that has to happen before we see the technology that allows for us as a civilization to stay put, improve something that far away, terrestrial, and then prepare it for us. Now, do we even know if it's possible yet to send people to Mars? Do we know if we could even reach that? Now, we've reached it with ships before, but I think Elon had said it. I know we're talking a lot about him, but the dude hits a lot of interesting subjects. It's a one-way mission. It's a one-way shot. You go there, you are successful and you survive, or the extreme likelihood is you maybe make it and you definitely don't come back. You probably perish. How many times do we do that before we decide to continue or discontinue? How many times do we say, wow, we have to get a little bit more creative. This isn't going to work. We can't do it like this. Maybe Mars wasn't the solution. maybe there was another solution. Maybe we don't know that until we're able to actually put a big red X on Mars and say, okay, unachievable. Now, I'm not sure if it is an unachievable task, but from where I sit, I would say that we would have to invest quite a bit, time, energy, focus of more than a few great minds, more than a few people that are passionate about it. Not so sure we get government involved. We still want to make this happen on time, right? So I'm not sure we get the government involved, but there's got to be some other private companies that are interested in technology that could enable this.
Well, a way to do it is to push the need for natural resources, right? Follow the money. You get people involved in this idea that there's natural resources out there. We can go ahead and get these meteorites or these comets. They have natural resources on there. We can be rich. Humans have always found and discovered places based off of money. Columbus, his discovery to the Western world of America was based on money.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, look, the Vikings, or excuse me, the Turks took over, Istanbul, right? Or Constantinople, whatever, how you say it correctly. But they took over that, which is now Istanbul, and they blocked that area. And so they were afraid to actually cross that way to get into Asia to trade. So what they said, hey, Christopher Columbus, we need to find another way. So I can find it, just pay for my voyage.
I'll go west.
And I'll go around I'll find another route, and, he supposedly found another route, which he ended up here and, in the Americas. And, this is how innovation or how money, or resources, they pushed innovation,
So what I'm hearing is if we incentivize going to Mars, we will give you land rights to whatever resources you find.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, use money as an incentive, as the thing to incentivize the people who have the money to go and to incentivize these explorations. I believe that Elon Musk is doing a lot of these things. He's incentivizing people and getting people involved, or getting people also interested in Mars more, so that way it can be achieved. He knows that he can't do it by himself and alone, but if he can make this movement, right, to push technology, flying cars and different things like that, people will start doing it, because we all wondered, why hasn't nobody fucking done it? Like, we're still using the wheel. Do you know what I mean? Like, dude, we're still using the wheel. The best invention we still fucking have is the wheel. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I'm still saying we're still using that. Why haven't we thought of a different way to, get to a destination? Is the wheel the most functional and resourceful way to do that? I'm very sure there's other ways to do it. Why aren't we checking out other technologies more harshly? And when it comes to transportation, instead of using the basic wheel, why don't we think different? I feel like we're kind of stuck with this. The wheel works, man. Fuck it. Let's just keep it going. It works. Let's just do it. Any other stuff is magical.
We've always done it this way. Why change it?
Yeah.
We've always done it like this.
But this is why you got guys like Elon Musk who come in, who change the status quo and motivate people to say, hey, what you've been doing is fucking lazy. Let's do some other shit. Watch this. I'm going to show you how it's done, because you guys are not really trying. Let's change it.
This is why it's important to continue asking why, right?
Yeah. Why ask why?
Again, how about that full circle?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But let's get into something else too.
Ooh.
Something else that's pretty fucking amazing is, you believe you have an interest in tarot cards, astrology.
Yeah. Yeah.
These personality identifiers. You also, love ancient aliens and things like that. Gotta love ancient aliens. Great fucking show. I like a bunch of that history channel shit. It's definitely my favorite thing. I was great in history class. They loved me there. Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, but I had a sergeant major who used to say, if you don't know where you've been, you're never going to know where you're going to go.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it was deep.
I like that.
Right? And so I took that, I took these aha moments from different points in my life, and I took them and I grasped them. This one kid I was fighting one time, who bullied me through the neighborhood, and I didn't want to fight the kid, but I beat his ass. But as I was beating his ass after he attacked me, I just said, hey, what the fuck? He just bit me. And I was like, why did this kid bit me? Why did he bite me? I said, hey, that's not fighting. And he told me a lesson. He said, hey, there ain't no rules in fighting. I said, holy shit. There isn't any rules in fighting.
I hope you called timeout.
Yeah. I just stopped because I was stuck on that thought. That thought just like was intrigued me. You know, I was like, holy shit, that's deep. And then I came up with a deeper thought behind that. Mm-hmm. I never want to fight with anybody who has nothing to lose.
Ooh, I hope my wife is listening. Man, I have said that for years. I will never fight someone who has nothing left or nothing to lose. Because what is in their realm of possibility? It's infinite. I never go against someone. But I mean, same vein, look at it a little bit differently. In any event, you can probably bet on the guy that has nothing left to lose. You can probably bet on that person because they will go to the ends of the earth to make it happen. But tell me the Sergeant Major quote one more time.
If you don't know where you've been, you never know where you're going to go. Sergeant Major Freights.
That is good. I often have said that you can learn a lot about yourself from someone telling you or something indicating that this is who you are. And the reason I say you can learn a lot about it, it's not from someone telling you. It's not from someone just saying, you are this person, now you know. It's from someone saying, you are this person, and then your gut says, that's true. Or, no, it's not who I am. That's why I love personality tests. Personality tests will tell you, Tim, you answered these 530 questions. This is you. We know you. They may know quite a bit, but there's a few things they miss on. The only thing that does is it just brings it to my attention and it gives me a moment to reflect. It's kind of like, does a tree make a sound if it falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it? Do you know anything about yourself if you haven't thought about it yet and chosen to say, yes, that is me. No, that isn't me. All the way back to neuroplasticity. You can change who you are by telling yourself who you are. Do you agree with your personality test? Do you agree with the adjectives someone used when they described you? That's up to you. That's exactly how I use tarot, astrology, any of those things. They're never a guaranteed 100% tell all. This is it. This is how your day is going to be. The only thing that it does is it gives me a moment to make a gut reaction to something. That gut reaction, I trust that more than I trust probably the tarot card. The tarot card could say, you are going to have an event that is likely to lead to prosperity. And it's like, I agree with that. Yeah, because I'm putting myself in positions where I think that's going to happen. Or it could say, your anger these past few days is going to lead to a bad outcome. And it's like, oh, have I been angry? Maybe not angry. I've been regretful. I've been remorseful. But why? Now that's leading to a couple of different conversations with yourself. So I always use these as just kind of open-ended. It's a push out there. It's almost as if you're on the diving board and someone just gives you a little nudge and you can either fall down and hold the diving board or you can just keep running and jump. The only reason I look at them is because I want something to invoke a gut reaction, some type of agreement or disagreement. I trust my gut. I trust what I believe. I trust the feelings or the knowledge I have of myself. So whenever I hear something back, such as you're analytical. Yeah, this is true. You're shy. No, I'm not. I'm not shy at all. It's very easy for you to create an image of who you are. And if you can create that image of who you are, write it down, read back through it, talk about it, you can start defining yourself. If you define yourself, you put that out there, people tend to believe it. People tend to hold on to it. People then start to identify you as it. I guess that kind of goes back to manifestation as well. You can kind of make yourself who you want to be, as long as you believe who you are, believe who you want to be. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I often do that where I will pull up a like horoscope for the day and it's like that doesn't feel real at all. and it doesn't feel real because I have this, and this happening. That changes my entire approach to the day.
Well, I think like horoscopes is kind of it's kind of elementary.
Sure,
It gives you a grace of basic personality traits, a holistic view.
Sure.
Not in depth of a person's day. That's more of a selling gimmick. If you really want to break it down, you'd have to look at someone's birth date, down to the hour they were born, and different chemistries and stars and moons and shit like that you have to think about. There's a lot more stuff that has to be entailed before you can actually just go by that.
By the way, Google searches have trended way upwards in the past few years. And it's basically, why is my child asking me what time they were born? That's why. A lot of people are leaning into this. So a lot of folks want to know.
Especially this pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people want to know a lot about their birth charts. That's what that is. I've done it too. I have a friend that reads those. And so we've had plenty of conversations. I will say a lot of that birth chart, still very high level stuff, still broad strokes, pretty close, surprisingly close.
What I found to be creepy and so on point is numerology.
Oh, yes.
It's like reading like your fucking
You said you were a
diary.
9. Is that what I heard earlier? Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe if I remember correctly, I am a 7 or an 11. But primarily it comes down to analytical nature. Mm-hmm. I am a manifester, and I live my life through my gut reactions, which is interesting. They are the best outcome provider is my gut reaction. If I go against it, usually it's the wrong thing. So I have the past few years really leaned into that gut reaction of, move to the West Coast. Yeah. Leave that cool startup. Yeah. Join something earlier. Yeah. Go to Harvard. That was a gut reaction. That was not planned. Nothing was planned about that. That came about in a matter of weeks. Came up from like, hey, I think I could do this, to, okay, looks like I'm doing this. Literally just pulling the trigger on something, but leaning into that gut reaction is it's how I navigate the world, if you will.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that though too. But for me, they say a numerology, number 9, humanitarian, and intellectual. And it's funny that it says all these like really detailed things, because it's really creepy. Because I was like, fuck, dude, I always tell people those things. Right. And like, if you go back to when I was a kid, I've always been trying to help people. Right. I don't believe in these social constructs of these groupings. I hate groupings. I hate, people creating these groups. I like to think about how everyone's connected.
Yeah.
Not how everyone's different.
We all have a place.
Right.
We all have a place. We all play together.
Yeah, we all do. But it's like you have to unteach people the basic human essence.
I like that. That's because that is human essence, is to sort and make sense of things, put things in buckets, make clicks. That is just how we are as humans. We want to make sense of it. My wife and I discuss this all the time about how I am this puzzle piece, she is that puzzle piece. By some miracle, we complement very well. But I have friends that are a lot like my wife. They have very similar, we'll just say like similar sun sign, or they have a similar Myers-Briggs, some kind of personality. They're similar, and I fit their relationships equally as well. Probably my best friend, very similar to my wife. Probably why I married my wife, reminded me of my best friend. That's a whole thing I have to unravel, but
we're not going to
that's a whole thing you got to unravel, but you got to cross that bridge one day. But you find those people, and that connection is very pure, and it's very, I hate to use the word beneficial, but it is beneficial. My life became exponentially better the moment I met my wife. And it's not just love. That's a big piece of it. Let me go on the record. That's a big piece of it as well.
She's listening.
She is. It's a huge piece, 100%. But there is a lot of good that she brings, and there's a lot of holes in my life that she fills that allows me to do what I do, and to do it as well as I do it. I would not be able to do that if I didn't have her or a best friend that was like that. If it was just me, I would be right back where I was at 20 years of age going, I thought music was the answer. I thought sports were the answer. I thought I was going to play baseball. I thought I was going to be a rock star. What the heck? What do I do? At that point, I actually chose to just back out completely of everything and just go to like bare essentials. It's like, okay, I'm going to dig ditches and lay pipe. That's just what I'm going to do is construction, and we'll see how this goes. That took like 3 to 4 years of doing that before the best friend came in and said, what are you doing? Why is this your choice? He actually re-enrolled me to university. No consent, just did it. Yeah, scary, right? He knew a lot of details. Re-enrolled me and said, hey, you're going to get back in. You're going to figure this out. You're going to go back. You should probably quit your job now. And that was probably maybe my first big scary was, I have to quit a job? What do I do? Well, you work part-time. What's that like? He's like, you've never worked part-time? I said, no, I've never worked part-time. Well, you have to find a job. It's like, I've never had to really look for a job like that. Okay, well, let me help you. So, he fit a lot of those holes that I didn't have. And because of that, that was my first springboard. I felt whole. I could go from there. Met my wife 2 years after that. Same thing, filled that hole. And it's been a rocket ship of a life. So many different experiences, so many things, a lot of scary stuff. But every step away from comfort into scary has
been a beautiful place.
Better and better.
You got to take that risk. I agree.
Absolutely.
One thing that I found that is weird about astrology and stuff like that is some people are like, oh man, how do you do that? I don't believe in that. I'm like, no, man, seriously. I've literally studied it for years, and I can tell you like if I'm automatically like hitting it off with somebody like really cool without any effort, I know they're within these certain signs. I typically know when they're like a Sagittarius or another Leo or
I was going to say
an Aries.
I would have guessed that you were a Leo or a Virgo.
Yeah. My dad was actually a Virgo.
My wife's a Leo. My best friend's a Leo. I'm a Virgo.
Ah.
See? There it is. Weird stuff, folks.
Universe.
This room feels different.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, there's a weird energy, like, when these like kindred spirits kind of like connect, and they like, it's a weird frequency, right? It's a weird frequency. Nicholas Tesla, I'm calling you in there, but it's a weird frequency where it's like some people just like you kind of know them a little bit and you kind of get them, and some people you just fucking don't.
Yeah.
And you can just like all my best friends are mostly always fire signs. Mm-hmm. Like they've always just stayed around, and like the relationships, the easier ones have always been the same freaking signs.
Yeah.
It's been like that. And so like I will literally creep some people out like, hey, you're an Aries, or hey, you're Sagittarius or you're a Cancer because I know because of this person, or you're a Gemini because of this. I know this personality behavior and the way that I'm interacting with you. This is typically what I've experienced. It has to be that.
I don't know what the science is behind it. If there's science at all, it's probably something that none of us understand, like just the frequencies of the universe. No one probably understands that in depth, but it does sincerely feel like you meet someone that you click with. There's a frequency that you both hit, and you guys are humming along to the same song, and things flow naturally. Communication is easy. Conversations are great. Laughter is there. You get each other. I will say I have used this outside of friendships. I've used this in professional settings before, where I've had my group of analysts at Tesla. Hey guys, we're going to take a personality test today because I just inherited you guys. I want to know about you. I want to see what you're like. The scary part was I want to say like 90% of them were just like me. 100% of them were almost identical, but one little piece off. All of these analysts, and that told me, okay, I know exactly how I'm going to manage you guys. I know what the incentives are for you. And the incentives for you aren't a pizza party. It's not going to be that pat on the back. I am going to give you the hardest problems that I have, and I'm going to give you all the room you desire to fix these problems or solve. A lot of happiness whenever you're giving people room. But there's been times where I've managed people and I've gone back and tried to figure out, okay, what do I think this personality type is? What do I think their sun sign is? If I can just figure that out, I can maybe get an edge, understand just a little bit more about them, trial and error some stuff and see if that helps. Personalities are odd like that. And we talked about AI earlier. Imagine if AI could figure out your personality based on things that you do. And it's stuff that's public. Imagine if they went to your Facebook. Imagine if they went to your YouTube channel. Imagine if they interacted with your avatar in the metaverse and they learned a lot about your personality and they matched you with something that made your life whole and complete. Imagine if they matched you with a virtual assistant that knew you weren't having a good day. It knew that you were having a good day. It knew that you had a recent success and you need to share that with people that you love. So it sets up a call with your family later. Holy cow. Imagine if it ordered you something to eat because it can tell by your eyes you're pretty hangry. You probably need something. Imagine if it knew you were low on potassium. Start throwing wearables in there. You can do this stuff. And we talked about all kinds of things over the past, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours we've been together today. And I think the one thing that we can continually point back to is there is a life, and it is a good life, where technology and people can be paired together. There is an existence past where we're at today that's past video games on your headset. It's past a Discord page to buy the newest board Panda Llama Party NFT. Trying to think of things that I haven't seen already, but there's a life past that. How do we take these cool things that we see, these things that we come back and say, oh, that's a bubble, that's a trend, that makes no sense, and turn it towards social good? Because that can happen.
Yeah, these are deep things. These are deep things. They're great things. But I wanted to talk on some other stuff. I wanted to talk about aliens. What's your love of ancient aliens and things like that?
So my brother and I are very similar in this.
But do you believe in aliens?
Oh, you have to think of how to answer that.
You got to do it strategically, Tim.
You do. I'm going through about 100 different possibilities of where that could come back and bite me. I will say this. I believe that there is definitely intelligence that is beyond us. I am positive of that. And the only reason I say that is because this big, incredible, magnificent thing that we call life on this thing that we call Earth, humming at millions of miles per hour around a fireball, what are the odds that is just chance? The odds are microscopic. They're small. It feels like there is much more intelligence put into this design that I'm sure. Was it aliens? Maybe, maybe not. Was it a higher power? Maybe, maybe not. Was it a alien that is a higher power? Holy cow. There are so many possibilities. Why I love Ancient Aliens is because it points out a lot of the different trends that we see and coincidences that are just outrageous. I saw a meme one time and I thought it was funny. It's like, why do these pyramids exist on 3 different continents at the same time? And someone said, well, it just seems like a really good way to stack rocks. And it's like, it could be that simple, right? It could be that simple. But I love data. And when I see trends like that, it hardly is ever coincidental. There's usually a reason. There's usually a signal in the noise. There's a fun book plug right there.
But maybe it was like this. I've been to Göbekli Tepe. I've been to a bunch of ancient ruins.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've been to
That's
Göbekli
cool.
Tepe. I've been to a bunch of the places that were underground and in Turkey where people were hiding, hundreds of feet underneath the ground from different people who were trying to attack them. I've been to all these ancient sites. And one thing I learned, Göbekli Tepe, it's not that big. A lot of stuff has not been dug out completely yet. It's still so much to be dug out. But these large stones are immense, and the things that they were drawing during these periods of time were crazy. And if we think about even, Egypt, we think about these pyramids, and we think about things. I think the thing is, we tend to think as humans that we're the most dominant and smartest civilization of our time, or of human time in general. But I think the thing is like we don't know really a lot about the past. Maybe we were fucking, literally from another planet already, and we landed here and we were implanted here and we rebuilt stuff, and we had this earlier technology, but maybe it just got all lost. Maybe we lost a lot of technology once we settled here, and then we started all over again. There's a lot of things like about the pyramids. There's even rumors about even Christopher Columbus, how he had heard about, the Americas and who he actually saw on his arrivals here, and also seeing alien crafts on his actual travels. He wrote these in his journal. I actually have his journal. Pick it up, Columbus's journal. He said
appropriately titled.
Exactly. It's his little journal. And he was a secret man himself. His children didn't even know where he came from and where he was actually originally born, or his original family. He never told them until he died. He kept it a secret. So it's rumors that even he was a family of a royalty of Portugal. And this is how he got some of these fundings. But he didn't speak Italian. He didn't even know anything about Italy. So it's like a lot of things about him was just literally lies. And there's also these things where they said that Columbus had heard from some of these South African or these native Timbuktu area sailors at the time about this place called Americas, because he was trying to find out different routes. And supposedly, the way the story goes is that he supposedly heard about this Americas or this route, and then he landed there, that they were trading things with these people prior for a long time, which is maybe why you see things like the Olmecs, where there's large skulls in Mexico, right? That looks like these certain phenotypes of these people who are like towards the Egypt and Africa and things like that. You might have seen some of these, or these people who are, towards the islands near Asia. These people may have been traveling, and now we found certain fruits or like yams and things like that inside of, the stomach of certain individuals, like in Chile and stuff like that. So we know that there were people traveling here back and forth. We've got the Bering Strait. There's so much information that was there. And then we look at historical things as far as like what the Aztecs, the Mayas, what they were talking about. They were always talking about these people from the sky. They were always talking about these travels. They were always looking for these people to come back. Usually there's some sense of truth there. It's not always usually just like some type of like, oh, I just heard something. Usually there's some type of hint of truth, but they try to describe things the best way that they could at the time. And so if it looked like a bird, that's what it was, a bird. If it looked like a plate flying in the sky, that's what we saw. You even think about things that were in biblical scriptures of the Christian religion, Ezekiel, how he saw the turning wheels. Like the first time I read that in the biblical Christian scriptures, I was like, what the fuck is this? He saw burning bushes. Moses, like, what is this stuff? This stuff's Ezekiel. He sees these things flying and it's spinning, and they open the door and they come talk to him. This sounds like extraterrestrial stuff. So I wonder how much stuff in the past was actually God or religion or was mixed up with alien type of life. And was there a period of time where they were more conscious of humans or more interactive with humans than they are now? Right?
Good question there would be,
and on top of that, Tim, are they still fucking here? But their technology has increased as they've been here, and now we only see 2D, and our world is a 3D world, and maybe they see fucking more.
There's a lot to unload in this one comment. I will say, the first question would be, if they are not here, if they are not contributing towards our growth and innovation today, our technologies, why did they stop? Are we a failed experiment? Are we now just burning out in whatever way we are going to burn out? Have we done this to ourselves? If this is a 2D versus 3D versus 4D type of living, Imagine we talked about frequencies earlier. Sometimes you just click and you can't explain it, but there's a frequency, there's something, and it's oh man, dude, you like Ancient Aliens too? You like this weird metaverse stuff too? You like these ideas too? There's a frequency that we are hitting on, and where does that come into play? Because I don't see that anywhere. Do I feel it? Sure, I can feel that. You can feel that. You can feel that connection. You can feel that vibration, and you can feel the humming along at that same frequency. But where do those frequencies exist? And I'm pretty sure that's what you mean whenever you say 3D. Is there an entire existence just outside of what we can conceptualize through our vision? We can feel it. We can potentially interact with it. Do we know it? We probably don't know it very well.
Or do some of us know it, or do some of us connect with it, but we choose
Have you
not
heard
connect?
about Einstein's thought experiments that he would do?
No.
Where he would literally go in the office, turn the lights down a little bit, kick his head back, and just kind of let his thoughts go. His thoughts would lead to all kinds of stuff, including space as a fabric. Gravity is just weight moving that fabric and things moving around. That's a thought experiment. That's him just kind of kicking an idea around in his brain. And I'm sure you've done similar things where you just have an idea and you just kick it around for a while and you think about it. You go to sleep, you have a dream about it, you wake up and there's clarity. Is that us interacting? Is that us interacting with some type of unknown intelligence that we have within ourselves and we just somehow subconsciously tapped into it and we had clarity? Possibly.
Or is it just a fact that when you're on a different realm, that there's another type of consciousness, and that consciousness isn't linear?
Ooh. I feel like William Shatner, as we had this conversation, is this what the space-time continuum is? Could it be? Can't it be?
That was awesome, by the way.
It feels like.
That was awesome. Give him a fucking award.
I
What is
should have
that?
been
That was
doing
awesome.
Shatner impressions for
That was
years
amazing.
now. Yeah, this is how I make my side money. I do voiceovers.
Yeah, that was
for him.
amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's what it feels like. And what's funny is those shows always have those huge questions, and sometimes it feels like giant leaps. But I mean, at the end of the day, full circle again. If you just keep asking why enough times, you eventually come to some understanding, and that understanding is this: I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand how we got to it, and I don't understand really where we go from here. But I will try to. I will open my mind up and I will receive whatever information. I will do my best. Whenever I moved from Tennessee to the West Coast, you can definitely believe that I had to open up my mind to understand different cultures. We know that the West Coast, there is many different variations of Asian culture. I coming from Tennessee, I knew of maybe 2 different variations, and that was it. So there was a lot of learning, and it was basically, I just had to open myself up and ask a few questions, try to not offend anyone whenever I asked the question, like, well, what would be the difference between this and this? Which is really hard to do, by the way. But I always try to come about, those questions from a place of, I guess,
Curiosity.
more or less curiosity, or just being vulnerable and saying, I don't know anything about this. What's the difference here? And just seeing what comes back. Usually there's a respect between the two, and it can happen. But, I feel like there's a lot we don't understand, but I have no issues asking why. I have no issues leaving myself open to interpretations of why things could happen. I think that's what helps us grow. I think that's what helps us understand.
Yeah, I mean, I did a funny 23andMe, and I had found out that I was always interested in these things, these pyramids, and these things like that. I remember that my grandpa, he would, he was like he would like literally. I found like this pyramid and these Egyptian pharaoh looking things like just sitting around in my grandma's like room. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, who has this? Like, what is this? Where'd you get these toys from? I was like, I want one of these. And she was like, no, these aren't toys. Your grandpa did this. I was like, what? What? Yeah, right. Okay. Like, really, I wanted to get one of these, these are awesome. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's interesting. I want to get one. So normally in order for me to get things that I wanted from my grandmother's house, I literally had to say, oh, I like this, and hold it and walk around with it. And then she would eventually let me have it.
Right.
So I was doing this to this thing.
Claim. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but she was like, but this, I was like, yeah, right. Okay. Just give it to me. You don't have to bullshit me. Just give me the damn thing. All right. But she was like, no. He does these. I was like, how? She's like, with a knife. Yeah, right. You're really full of shit me now. Like, these things were perfectly, symmetrically, like, I'm a fucking product designer, right? Yeah. I fucking know Symmetry. It was perfect. It looked like somebody just like amazingly built this damn thing. It was so intricately detailed. I was like, no fucking way. And it was with a pocket knife is what she was telling me. I'm like, yeah, right. Now, my father passed away. And on the day when he was passing away, I remember I saw my grandpa. He was looking out. He was sitting next to the window, and he was just carving something. He had a little pocket. And I was like, "What the fuck's he doing over there?" So I went over next to the window while he's looking out the window, and he's doing something. I was like, what the fuck is that in his hand? And I'm looking at him like, "What the fuck? This fucker's really doing that shit."
It wasn't a lie.
It wasn't a fucking lie. I was creeped out from that, and so that was just like really amazing to me. And then like years later, I did like a 23andMe, and then I remember I got it back and it said my paternal ancestry was related to King Ramses III.
Oh, that's cool.
So get the fuck out of here. The guy who was doing this is actually related paternally somewhere down the line to King Ramses III. So somewhere were fucking Egyptians or some shit, like pharaohs. Like, that's fucking crazy. And does he fucking know that? Did he know that? Because out of anybody, I've never seen anybody do that in my entire life. But This guy was doing it. And like, I never heard him mention anything about it. No connections. How the fuck did he do this? And why did he do this? And like was it was unusual to me. I never went to anybody's house and they were just like, fuck man, there's pyramids and shit. Here's this Osiris. I'm like, the fuck? But he could do this. And I thought this was the weirdest thing. And so shit just started making sense. I'm like, this is very odd. This is very odd. This is very odd. This guy who didn't know this, technology didn't exist then, can do these things, but turns out he's fucking related to them. Creepy, right?
There's no way he knew either, right? Like
I don't think he did. I don't fucking think he did. But like, this brings me to another thing is like, is there some type of genetic memory? Does DNA carry a memory to it? Like, it has some sense of a memory to it, but does it carry some extra memories in it that are subconscious to our understanding?
That's interesting because I told you the first time I ventured to California was to Carmel, and not sure what it was. Felt right. Felt like home. Just perfect. Like, oh man, this is it. I don't know what is it. The weather? Is it the beach? Is it just the cool looking building? I don't know, but it feels right. I don't put much weight into the idea of past lives. I don't put a lot of weight there, but
put that weight there, Tim.
Put that weight there. But I've looked at it before and been like, okay, based on my birth chart, who potentially could I have been in a past life with? I'm not wearing it, but my ring from Harvard has an inscription on the inside of it. It says, "Captain of my fate, master of my soul," which is a kickback to or a reference to William Henley, which was a poet, wrote Invictus. And I heard that not from the movie Invictus, where most people heard it from, but it was in an English lit class in middle school or high school. And it was just one of the 100 things we talked about. But reading through this poem, it hit in a way like, ooh, that speaks to me. That's good. I love that. And it has stuck with me since then. And we're talking, 15, 20 years. So much so that I put it on the inside of a ring. That I usually have on, but come to find out that a lot of my previous lives are Californians and Northern Californians. And And one of my past lives is William Henley, which was, I believe, is buried in San Francisco. Very odd stuff like that, right? So I don't know how much weight I put in it, but there's a lot of coincidences there, huh? You can feel those things. And of course,
Wait, who told you this?
oh, it's just something that I went through and was doing research on. And so
Like past life regression or something like this? Or?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. You did that. You weren't scared?
Scared? No, I'll be honest. I'm not, I'm not too worried about that. Like that doesn't, I don't feel like that's going to change much about what I believe or who I am. And of course, now that I look it up, William Henley is actually buried in the UK, which is another place that I have felt really strong connections to. I'll have to double check, but there is a person that was either my most previous life or second is buried in San Francisco. That was a born and raised Californian. But it's weird how that stuff, you get out here, or I got out here, and there was a frequency. I texted my wife when my plane landed. Feels like you're home. It's weird. Every time I come back, it feels that way. While I was living here, it just felt right. Whenever I left, it felt weird. So,
No, I definitely believe, and there's actually science now behind it. I've actually started researching it because once I started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, some people are saying there's some type of things. There's something there. There's something there that, correlates to humans having some possible genetic memory. We have some sense in general, right? That's what genetics are.
Yeah.
Right. That's what DNA is. It's a stored of memory. But like, how much of it do we remember? Or, in some ways, could DNA actually reincarnate itself? Meaning, like, if you were someone 1,000 years ago, through DNA, does your DNA remember that one person, like a program from 1,000 years ago and rebirths itself multiple times?
fires it right back up. Isn't that odd? Let's say that's spot on. That's exactly how this is going to go. That is life as we know it. What possible things are lurking just under the surface, just waiting for you to hit that firing pin? And just like that, you've set off a turn of events of amazing or maybe not quite as amazing. There's plenty of stories of where people say, like, I don't know, just one day it clicked. That may be something there. I know for myself, one day it felt like it just clicked. One day I told myself, okay, this is who I am now. This is me. This is what I'm doing. And this is years, decade plus more, where I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is me. It clicked. And every day from that moment on, it just felt right. It was like stepping into yourself. People might call that a coming of age, but maybe that's what a coming of age is. You've finally fired the pin that is strongest or best for you, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. It's like, I feel like, even like there was that, that TV show, it's called The Vikings. Mm-hmm. Thought it was fucking awesome. And like, everybody couldn't understand why I was fucking addicted to it and obsessed with any of these Viking shows and stuff like that. I was addicted to it. I can watch it, like binge watch them. I was like, why the fuck are you watching that shit all day? Like, dude, I'm like, it's I don't know. It feels natural. It feels like I could be there. It feels like I can live this type of lifestyle. And then I tracked down a great grandfather who was a Grimmett, and then when I did the DNA test, it showed that it was from Norway, Greenland, Newfoundland, those areas up there. So there were some of them. So my great great grandfather was a Nordic, and the surname was a Grimmett, which stands for the Grim One, which was a Viking word. So there was a Viking ancestry on my father's mother's side.
That's interesting.
So it's like, I don't know. I made it I justified it that way. I was like, that has to be what the fuck the obsession is. Cause it's weird. Like none of my friends were really like that. I was like, dude, what the fuck? It's like, dude, why are you watching this shit still? I'm like, it's fucking, I don't know. I just love it, dude. I feel like I feel like I could do this shit and I'm here. I feel like the swords, and I could just feel like this whole environment it felt natural to me. It felt like at home. And so I was really like addicted to it. I'm fucking addicted to it. And so like when I watched that shit, just like the pyramids, I was addicted to that shit. And so it was like, man, you know, when you start digging up the DNA, you start realizing, holy shit, this may be it. All the things I was really obsessively interested in and binge watched, historically wise, turned out to be I had some genetic relation towards.
Seems too coincidental, doesn't it?
Right? Yeah. That's what I fucking thought. And like I would show everybody, like, hey, dude, fucking look at this shit. Can you believe this shit? This is weird. I was telling you this shit. You thought this was just me weird, but this is what it is. So when people are always saying this shit, this is probably what it fucking is. It's weird, isn't it? But I believe that, you know, that DNA possibly carries more memory than what we think it does. And you inherit that. And so sometimes these things that you learn over life to survive may be descended upon you, and you may feel like they're home. Even when it comes down to attraction to certain people, you know, you might like people with darker hair because maybe your ancestors, maybe some of them were from, you know, India. Maybe some of your ancestors were from, you know, Indonesia, or maybe there were some Native Americans or Asian of that sense. And maybe this is why there's an attraction to these things. And it's not really just you saying, I have a preference, or it wasn't just a movie or a TV show.
At that point, in theory, everything could be related to conscious and subconscious genetics. It could be related to things you know of and things you don't know of until you learn about it. That is really intriguing, and you have now just ruined whatever free time I may have diving into this whenever I get done. So thanks a lot. There goes good sleep.
And by the way, to add on that, Tim, numerology says if you're number 7, that means you've reincarnated 7 times. If you're number 11, that means you've passed that time, unless you want to add that up to 2. So 9 is typically, you know, its 9th time, and typically could be its last venture, if it chooses to, for what numerology believes. But that's numerology, and that's kind of somewhat of what I understand of it.
So that's wild. If that's the case, I have to figure out how to go a little bit deeper and actually get more names, because I only know of like the last 2. And I can't remember the gentleman's name. That's probably my most recent, but I remember William Henley, mainly because that one stuck so much because of the poem. But, this is deep stuff. Who would have thought we'd be going down to this level today? Who would have thought we were talking about finance?
I don't know. I thought this, you know, typically I like to have these type of conversations if the other person's open to deep conversations.
Yeah.
If their mind is open to patterns and to, you know, seeking the truth and trying to learn and grow, then these fucking conversations will come out of me.
They just happen.
Yeah, they just definitely will. You just have to have the same right, you know, open-minded people who are thinkers. You know,
Yeah.
You have to be open to think. You have to be open to thinking different. You can't just be open to what you've been taught. If you've just been taught something, then you're programmable completely, and you can't really leverage anything mostly new. You can't think of new ideas. And so I think there's some people that think of new ideas, and there's some people that dream, and some people that vision, and some people gather patterns. I remember when I was in elementary school, they were writing on my fucking report cards, he's a dreamer.
Yeah.
He just looks out in the fucking stars all day.
Yeah.
Why is he not paying attention to you? Because you're fucking boring. And and I don't. Everything you're telling me is easy to me, and I really don't understand why I need to do this, because you don't understand life. Like, this is not going to be useful for me for the most part. Like, what are you doing? Like, teach me the stuff that's going to be useful. You need to be teaching people multiple languages, finances, how to be able to survive in this world. Right? Balancing people's emotions. What about the future? Technology. These are things we should be pushing and instilling in our children. When you go to, you know, colleges like Harvard and Stanford, they teach you to be the change in the world, not to be the followers, not to be the busy bee workers. So there's a different type of expectation when you reach out and you jump in the world and you show people who the fuck you are. Mm-hmm. And it's something I always sit there and say, it's like, always think about, you know, no matter what you do, that you have to tell people or show people who the fuck you are. Don't matter if they don't know you. Who the fuck are you? Because they're going to look at you with that blunt face. Who the fuck are you? So you got to show every fucking body who the fuck you are 24/7. That's what you got to fucking do. In every business you do, everything you go ahead and venture in life, the girl of your dreams, whoever you want to seek out, you got to show them the fuck you are, you know? So if it's coming there, we're fucking, you know, we're ballroom dancing. I'm going to show you the fuck I am. If we're in fucking Istanbul and we're doing some Turkish dances, I'm going to show you who the fuck I am. You know, you got to go ahead and do it. You got to show people that you're open and that you're passionate about things and you're curious to learn. And I think the reason why I named this show the Kids in the Room podcast is because I paid homage to those pyramids. But this was before I even know this DNA track. But I just always had this connection with that and technology and aliens and flying cars and deep thinking. And mainly when I was a child, I always would invite all my friends to my neighborhood and to my house. They'd always come to my house and we'd always meet in my room and we'd always talk about deep things, right? We'd always talk about, there was a vulnerability there. You know, my friend talked about his mom or, you know, running away or this and that, or, you know, the world and growing up and all those things. And I wanted to bring that childlike consciousness to a conversation and hope that we can, you know, help humankind and inspire them to grow and to think different and maybe do some different shit and have fun.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I like.
But yes, you get it.
Yeah, I love how openness can lead to so much. Being able to have an honest conversation can lead to so much. Being able not to just be worried about, you're talking about, I am who I am. This is who I am. Being able to put that out there and confidently say, yeah, this is me. These are the things I do. These are the things I believe in. These are the things I care about. These are the things I'm passionate for. And these are the things that I just don't like at all. Being able to do those things and open up a conversation and then be willing to be challenged on them. That's probably the hard part. Be challenged and be willing to listen, be willing to learn. There's a lot of things I've been challenged on that I've had to stop and say, you know what? You're right. Yeah, I see why I've done that in the past, and I see why that's probably dumb. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. That's probably science, right? You continue to change and grow, evolve, and learn.
But you have the sense of reflection and growth, and you know, and scaling that to a limit to where you're consistently always growing. I always say that I'm a student, and I'm always curious, and I always can learn something from any individual. I'm never the smartest person in the room.
Never.
I'm always the dumbest person in the room in any scenario, because I also believe in this Einstein thing. You know, if you judge a fish's ability to climb up a tree, it will always think that it's stupid its entire life.
Yes.
So we'll always walk into the room and say, who and what is your superpower? And try to put people in those positions to where it empowers them, not look at them down and think they're just stupid. They can't do this, blah, blah. What is your superpower? And what can I do to help empower you in that, you know, position of you being that superpower? I want to see you. If you're fucking Superman, you can see through the fucking walls. That's what a position I want to put you in, right? This is what I want to do. And so I think this is a big problem. I see a lot of companies, a lot of people and teams, they do not always try to think about this. They don't try to look at what people's superpower are. They try to build these scalable systems that says, this is what I think things are. And if you don't do this test, then you're this. And it's like, we need to put people in certain positions where their superpowers are embraced. And that's why I also believe, like, there's different people, even Elon Musk again, you know, trying to do different ways of teaching his children, things like that. These are the ways that we should be teaching people, because everybody is not the same. Everybody's work habits aren't the same. People react and behave differently. And if we don't understand that, we're going to get bad results. And we just always want to put people as like, oh, they're stupid, or they're not smart because they didn't pass this test, or they didn't do this, or they didn't get here. These are signaling, you know, and I just don't believe in that. I believe that there's just this variant talent that everybody has. And yeah, there you go.
I agree. I agree with all of that. I do. There was many times growing up where, you know, I probably could have stopped and said, man, I just don't feel very smart. I don't feel like I'm keeping up at all. Like, I don't understand why. Number one, why is this even important to me? And number two, how did we get here? It took me a while before I could tweak and change the way that I learned to make sense for myself. I didn't learn the same way my buddy or the same way you did. I had to figure that out. And that was not something that a school system taught me. That's something I had to do on my own. And I did it more or less out of necessity. I need to learn and I need to know how to learn. So I need to create this for myself, or I'm going to have a miserable life where I just feel behind and embarrassed. I went into a master's degree not because I had grades that said I should be going to an Ivy League school. I went and did that because I found a way to be resourceful enough that I could challenge myself to that level and make that work. A lot of people probably get hung up where they say, I should probably go and do this because I'm pretty good at school, so I should do. No, I don't think that's how that should go. In all things we do, we should do because it's passionate. It's challenging. So that's.
Yeah, I agree. Passion matters. And sometimes it takes, you going out there and experiencing things. And I typically find that people will go for whatever is their passion based off of their experiences and the people around them. So that's why I'm always big about, people traveling the world, going to see things while you're young and testing and trying different things instead of sitting in the house. And I understand like not everybody has that, competitive advantage to do so, but there's ways to do shit. You can do things that don't scale and make shit happen. There's ways to find things, but you have to have people around you that think different or get away from the people that don't.
Yeah.
You just got to take that fucking risk.
Absolutely.
So
and
with
it's
that,
funny, you say that we may not all have the same means to get to that end. Going back to VR, what if we did? Oh man, so many circles we're making tonight. So many circles.
The circles.
Imagine
the next book.
And you gave me a title for my next book. Log in, folks.
It's next coming up. Hit fucking Tim Hendricks. You're gonna hear it.
Yeah, subscribe. I want to make you wait outside for a little while, but subscribe and I'll let you in. It's a trick I learned. Truly though. I mean, if you have underserved, underfunded areas and you are needing to show, we'll just say inner city, you want to show inner city students that there is, look how beautiful a sunset at the Golden Gate Bridge is. Put on this headset and you can experience that. You want to experience what it's like to see a traditional Turkish dance. Well, we can put you right in the middle of it. Do you want to walk around the Taj Mahal? We can do that. Imagine what worldliness and different values and that could spark in someone. Incredible. Maybe we find that firing pin sooner than later and it's no longer a coming of age. Circle number 24.
Yeah. And right now you're investing in India a lot. Yeah. And what is your interest in India right now? Like why India of all the places, even though India is a great, beautiful place, but why India?
Number one, yes. Beautiful place. Number two, if you look at the US startup culture today and you look at what makes up founders, you will see that the large majority of founders are non-US residents originally. And if you look at those non-US residents, I want to say it's 40 to 50% of them are from India. So you are talking about a massive amount of people that are coming from one central area that are bringing ideas, technology, creations, products, companies, bringing them with them to the US and trying to launch. Why I find India interesting, not only is it the third largest startup ecosystem, they are the third country in the world to reach 100 unicorns, billion-dollar valuation companies. Besides that, imagine what you could do if you invested in people on their home turf, where they're happiest, where they have their family, their communities, the people they care about, probably the reason why they were doing what they were doing to begin with. Why do they have to travel halfway across the world to have an opportunity like that when opportunities, funding, resources, that can be brought to them? So I've spent quite a bit of time looking at what incubators look like, what startup groups, angel investors, what is that ecosystem made out of? And I will say it is made out of probably better foundations than what the US ecosystem's made out of. In India, the government invests quite a bit with no return necessary. Central banks, we will invest with no return necessary. They sincerely are just trying to spark innovation within their communities. That is tremendous. There was a event that launched that I sent a speaking event, launching electric vehicle innovation. How incredible. The government is funding an incubator to help give resources, education, mentorship to Indian-born individuals who are trying to make a splash in the EV or electric mobility space. And it's not just cars. It's technology, it's software, it's tools, it's equipment, it's everything. That's incredible. I don't see a lot of that. You see endowments here in the US. College A is investing, College B is investing, Ivy League, this is doing this. That is awesome. But I will say, do you see the US offering small business loans to first-time founders? You don't see that very often.
No, you don't fucking see that.
And so imagine if you or I had access to something like that, plus the resources that the US already provides. I think it's easier to put resources in India than it is to try to take all of the amazing things India is already doing and move it to the US.
I mean, I think like United States, we have so much internal turmoil into the country. Even though we're such a diverse country, we have such internal turmoil from social and constructs of things, from historical things, and we still try to keep the past. We still try to keep old constitutions and different things like that, and we don't try to innovate those past the point to where they fit with the modern times.
Sure.
It's great to be respectful to the founders and the people who help lay the blueprint for this country. But at some point, they should be evolving. America should be a country, I feel, that should always be evolving. It should be a work of art. It should be something that's consistent. And so for me, I also see that, why don't we? I question, in this country, why doesn't America, invest in its founders like India does in its founders? I mean, because you can come here and get better funding here, and versus where you can get even somewhat in India in some sense, but you can't. But America doesn't really invest in its founders typically here as much, or at least the government doesn't really get involved very much. It's like we want to fucking we want to be capitalist and we want to put interest in every fucking thing. But this helps us. We do it when we have founders who weren't born here. And that helps our country because it keeps the smartest people in the country. Yeah. But at some point, we're not really helping our people as much. We're kind of making them have to go through loops and holes. So then this goes to some type of like caste-like structure where it's like we're making our own culture in the United States have to jump through hoops in order to be able to put themselves at a leveling playing field. And it leaves people behind a little bit because it's like you're not even taking care of the people that are here. You know what I mean? And it's like there's a lot of progress that I feel like in America that we can actually upscale on. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of things that can be helped with the resources we have here. But a lot of people need to be fucking trained. Like we're not, people are wanting to be social media stars. People wanting to be TikTokers. Not hating against that. I love it. I love the platform. But people want to be more consumers or get rich quick instead of I want to innovate.
My favorite, and I don't even know if I made this saying at this point because I've said it so much. I can never tell if I'm quoting someone or if this is just something I've said so often it comes to mind. People value creates company value every time. And what I mean by that is if you are building something with the idea of building a company value, you're starting off on the wrong foot immediately. You should be answering big questions in your community, in the greater community, in the world. That's what you should be trying to build. You should be trying to bring value to people. And if you can accomplish that, your company will find value. Never should a system be started with the idea of company value is it. We're going to get the company. You should always be trying to figure out, a customer-centric mindset. Why is Amazon popular? Because they have had a customer-centric mindset since day one. It's been very intentional. Treating your business as that. We are here to bring people value. We want to make life better for those people. And it's okay if you brought value to people by bringing them an application that streams 15-second videos that makes them smile. That's okay. There's a place for that. It may or may not equal a lot of company value, but that's okay too, because you brought people value. If your goal was to get rich, there's quite a few other ways you could probably go about it that's much faster and requires a lot less activity and innovation.
I like the way, for me, I like to achieve things to scale with more money so I can build more things.
Yeah.
I like robots. I like machines. I like the future. I like Back to the Future. If you don't see it behind yourself, I love a lot of these things. I like how, I wonder why the hoverboard technology has never been created. I remember I would play with magnets and turn them upside down and try to.
It's too loud.
Is it?
That's why hover cars and hoverboards, that's why they don't exist. It's too loud. Too much noise pollution. Too much wind created from a vehicle that has like propulsion. Mm-hmm. Imagine if you had that many airplanes, small engine airplanes all the time. It'd be horrible.
See, I think that if somebody really got really interested with the focus of Elon Musk, they could figure it out.
I am positive.
But I think that's a lot of people just don't have that focus. Yeah. Like a lot of people didn't figure out a lot of the things that SpaceX is doing and things like that, and Tesla, but it was somebody had to take focus and who had authority and who had power and influence to actually drive that.
Someone had to will it. Yeah.
Yes. It couldn't have been just anybody. You had to get your solid win to that first door, like PayPal, et cetera. Sure. And then you could go ahead and leverage and do those things. But it's great. Let me ask you another question. What was your biggest failure? You've been so fucking successful in your life and you've got more things to do, but what was your biggest failure? And what did you learn from it?
There's a lot. There's a lot of failures in life that have happened. There's a lot of things I've come back from, but I will say my biggest failure is every time that I tell myself I don't deserve to do that, or I shouldn't even try. So earlier we were talking about you don't even go in the door. You stop yourself. So anytime I bring myself down to that level of you just shouldn't even try. You should not even say anything. Just kick back, go home. I can only imagine the things that maybe I could have accomplished. What if I said, okay, music isn't about money. I just want to do it because I love it. Where would that have gone? What if I would have said, I can get over the spring training and the conditioning. I'll stick with baseball. Where could that have gone? There are a million paths in life that I could have just continued on. If I would have got past the comfort zone, if I would have got past the big scary, if I would have moved forward, there's no telling what things I could have been successful at, where I could have landed. I am where I am because of a lot of different failures. A lot of different doors have been closed, which have led me to continue going down the hall and end up in this room with kids. No pun intended. But a lot has led me to this moment in life. Whatever failures they are, it's funny, I probably don't view them as failures anymore. I probably view them as learning opportunities, or I view them as experiences that I will hold and cherish. It's okay to cherish failure. It's okay to cherish things that you didn't do a good job at. It's okay to cherish things that you're embarrassed of. They made you who you are. A good buddy of mine that I've worked with for a while, he and I talk about failure all the time. Normalize failure. Normalizing failure is important because, number one, we all do it. Why are we going to hide it? Why are we going to act like we haven't accidentally sent that email with a typo and been like, oh, why did I do that? Why do we act like we haven't sent an awkward text to someone we like? That we've all failed. the more we normalize it, the more we talk about it, and the more we realize I could probably tell you something silly I did and you would say, oh, that's nothing, man. Why are you even worried about that? That would immediately alleviate any feeling I have of, regret or remorse or shame or guilt. Immediately. It's why we as people want to always talk about it, but we struggle to talk about it. If we could be honest with each other and talk about these failures, holy cow, the progress we can make as people. We struggle to have those conversations, primarily because we have all grown up thinking you don't ask why, you don't talk about stuff that's uncomfortable, and by God, you do not talk about things that are personal. Why not? I've never had an issue talking about things I'm bad at or things I failed at. I've never had trouble discussing issues or pain points. None of that stuff. Blocker. The only reason I got past them is because I opened up and talked about them with somebody. Usually I get help. Simple as that. Had an honest, open, vulnerable conversation with someone. That person enrolled me in my next college course that slingshotted my career. Had an honest conversation with a girl at a party. Ended up being the best decision I probably ever made. I spoke with a previous boss about something I was worried about. He alleviated that immediately. It's incredible how far we can go in life if we would just get over ourselves and get out of our own way. It wants to happen. We might as well just let it happen.
Wow. That was a mouthful. That was great.
Right?
Excellent.
Right.
So one last question I want to dig into, you ask. And, wow, deepness. How would you like to be remembered?
That's tough. I think about the question of what do you want on your headstone, tombstone? What do you want people to write about you? I don't know the exact phrase I want inscripted. I don't know exactly what it is that I want people to remember, but I know the one thing that I hope comes across, and that is, all else aside, he cared. No matter what the situation was, no matter what the experience was, no matter the circumstance, he cared. I feel like that would say a lot. I feel like that would. And if that doesn't work, I want it something like world record holder, previous U.S. president, first galactic overlord, something cool. Total BS. Doesn't matter. As long as people walk by and they're like, what? That would be great. I would love just to be able to make people still, even in my afterlife, double take and be like, is that for real?
Well, that's great. Thank you, Tim, so much for coming on the podcast. It has been fucking amazing conversations. Where can people contact you at and, reach out to you if they need to? And what do you want to tell them? Lastly, any book, anything that you want to tell them to reach out to, or?
But you know what?
Investors,
above all else, you can always find me on LinkedIn. Like that's my preferred medium of reaching people is that. You can find me there, but I would say the one thing that I hope anyone that's listening takes away is have an honest conversation with people. Be open with people. Stop taking yourself so seriously. It's just life. We're all going to get to the same endpoint. It's okay. Enjoy what you're doing. And enjoy how nice it is having an honest conversation. I know I've enjoyed this one because it's been an honest one. Don't be scared to fail through that. There's a lot that can come out of an honest conversation. There's a lot that can come out of a failure or a stumbling block. So yeah, I appreciate the time. I appreciate having the conversation, man. This has been good. It's been a long conversation, and it has not felt that way. Again, riding the same waves. Yeah.
There you go. Well, thanks again, Tim. Wow. Great conversation with Tim. Yeah. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kids in the Room podcast. Kids in the Room podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Brought to you by Move Faces TV. Let's go.